Finally tonight here, the mom, her little girl, and what she captured. Tonight, the incredibly moving moment caught on a mother's cell phone. She will forever cherish it. 5-year-old Zoe Expert asked to borrow her mother's cell phone, telling her mom, Delphine, she wanted to look for treasures and video them. Zoe has autism and has been nonverbal up until a few months ago. Her mother has noticed that letting her daughter explore, dance, play music, ski, it's all started to help her talk. Her daughter communicates in other ways, Mom says, including lots of hugs. But still, Mom Delphine has never heard her daughter say, I love you. So Mom was astonished when she saw what her daughter had recorded. Just listen.
This is a pine cone. This is the dandelion. This is another dandelion. This is the grass. This is the sky. This is the clouds. This is my car. This is my house. And there is my beautiful mom. She's the best mom. I love her so much. And she's the best mom in the whole world.
Zoe's mother hearing her daughter say, I love you for the first time. Tonight telling us, with the help of a simple camera, words came out more easily when she was alone and having fun. And she managed to express in her own way all of the love that she has for me in her heart, but would never be able to tell this to me directly.
I love her so much.
Tonight, one mom hoping the message for her from her own daughter will help so many other families too. Well, isn't that profound? We needed that tonight.
That split Baptist churches. There's a sex scandal team, and that's usually a 15 or 16-year-old girl sleeping with the Baptist preacher or the minister of music or the minister of youth. Then there's also a monetary scandal, and there's a gossip scandal. My team did the gossip scandal. Now, you're not going in there by yourself. You have a whole team of people that work on this, and you're working multiple churches at the same time. So let's say you go in, let's say that I'm the person that goes in. I'm going to be the main person here. But that doesn't mean I'm working alone. There could be 20 people going in. When I show up in town, and I've got a bank account that has $87 million in it. And the bank president is also a Baptist. And we already know all this stuff. Research has been done. We've studied these people in advance. You've got a schedule, you've got a schedule to follow. You go in, you've got a nice car, you just bought the most ostentatious house in town. And you tell them you're looking for a new Baptist church to join. So he invites you to join his church. So you go in, and before you get there, he's already let everybody know. This guy drives a Lamborghini. He's got $87 million. He just bought the Brewster house. It's like that eyesore back, wherever it is, but it's gigantic and he's got money. We should make him an official member of one of the committee. Baptist churches are run on committees. So you go in, and your very first day of meeting the committee, you hear the president say something, but you notice that the vice president rolls his eyes when he said it. Now, you're trained to pick up on this stuff. You're trained to know who doesn't like who. Like the majority of the time, the president is a voted in position. So most likely the president won and he appointed the vice president. The vice president was probably also running for president, and he lost, but he had some good ideas. So the president assigns him the vice president position, but the vice president has resentment. Because once you're in this position, it's for life. And the only way you can move up is he has to either move, quit, or die. You can't kill him, so you have to bide your time until he leaves. And that might not be for 30 or 40 years. So you're stuck playing second fiddle to this guy, wishing that he would leave. So I go out and I hang out with the president. He takes me out on his new bass boat. And he tells me, well, this guy believes this and this, but, and I think he's kind of lazy, but it's all good. So it's all good is his catchphrase. I pick up on that. And he says that a few times during that trip. It's all good. So then when I go hang out with the vice president, we hang out for a little bit and I say, hey, I'm new here and I don't want to cause any trouble. There's a lie, because I do want to cause trouble. But I tell him, I was talking to the president and he said this and this about you, but it's all good. Now, most likely what I just said is a complete lie. He didn't say that, but the vice president thinks he did because I ended it with, but it's all good. And the president uses that phrase all the time. So I keep talking away with all the different members. And I tell all of them stuff that somebody might have really said, or maybe they didn't really say it. But I always say, you can't say anything to anybody, because if you say something, they're going to know I said it because he told me. Now, once I have put in all the different spices and stirred the pot up really good, then I go to the Baptist preacher, have a meeting with him, and I tell him, listen, I'm new here and I don't want to cause any trouble. But this is what's going on in this committee that you put me on. You know, this person says this person says that, this person's doing this person's doing that. You know, and I'm not sure what's going on here. I don't know what I should do. The Baptist preacher thanks me for coming to him and telling him these things. And then he's a good shepherd. He's going to have to go behind my back and ask them all if they really said these things. Well, when I tell the things that I tell him are all true. I don't lie to him. No, I tell him I don't want to start any trouble there. That's a lie. But every quote I give him is an actual quote. So when he goes behind my back and talks to all these people, they all confirm, yeah, we said that. Yeah, I said that about this person or that person or, you know, whatever it is. They all confirm these things. So from the Baptist preacher's perspective, everyone's got a bad problem with gossiping, talking about people behind their back. The only person that seems to be telling him the truth is me. So he goes to the president. Now, the way the devil sets this up, if the president steps down, this whole problem goes away. It's just the way it works. If the president steps down, all the infighting goes away. And so the pastor asked him, listen, you know, if you step down, everything will be fine. But this is when that guy realizes this was a popularity contest and I won. I ain't going nowhere. And the vice president realizes if he doesn't go anywhere, I can't move up. So in his frustration, he leaves the committee. He quits. Now, here's what the devil counts on. If the vice president leaves the committee, half the people will be on the side of the vice president and the other half are with the president. And there's overwhelming evidence that if the vice president quits, the committee will split. And if the committee splits, the church will split. Half the people approximately stay at the church. Half the people approximately quit. Now, it could be more or less of 50%, but that's pretty close. The people that leave are going to try and start their own church. If that church is not up and going in 1 year, it's never going to be up and going. The people that stayed are never going to grow because on Sunday or Monday, Sunday you go to the Baptist church, Monday you're at the water cooler. Where'd you go to church yesterday? Such and such Baptist church. Oh, you don't want to go there. They had a scandal. Well, now you have to quit because there's a scandal there. The people that left, they can't get one going because they have a scandal attached to them. So some of those people, if they get a church going, that's never going to grow. It's going to be that group of people and it's never going to expand from there. Some people are going to be reabsorbed back into the community and go to other churches. Some people are going to go back to the original church, but some people are going to have a sour taste in their mouth about religion and never go back. Satan goes for the split. He doesn't want the church destroyed. He doesn't want everyone to leave. He doesn't want the building to be crumbled. He just wants a split. And that was my job. That was one of my jobs. There was an art to doing it. You know, if you did it right, when you left, you were still the good guy. You know, no one suspected it was you. No one, you know, the Baptist preacher sure doesn't suspect it was you because everything you told him was the truth. We stopped attacking the Baptist church in the 1990s because they accepted sexuality. They accepted abortion. Their miniskirts, you know, they stopped wearing floor-length dresses. They started wearing miniskirts to church. So we watered down their faith. And we stopped attacking them.
Deception in the church has been going on for centuries. Absolutely centuries. And, that's the wrong button. I clicked the wrong button there. That's where I go to watch my movies. Hang on. Okay. I'm looking to see who is showing the. What's it on? C-SPAN? Is that what it's on? BB speech? Is it on C-SPAN? I think that's the one that's always got cameras on in the. Yeah, C-SPAN. I think it is. Let's see.
Including 39 Americans.
Okay, we want to watch it from the beginning.
And leaving the protest there to take
There we
you
go.
live
All right.
to the U.S. Capitol.
Now, I hate to suffer you guys through this.
Meeting of Congress.
I really do, but I have a feeling that something's going to be said here, and I want us to catch it all. Okay, so let's go ahead and watch it from the beginning. Let me see. Let me make a banner real quick. I'm starting it from the beginning, so it doesn't matter that we're a little bit behind. Israel speaks to Congress. Courtesy of C-SPAN, and I'll have to make sure I get my banner rolling so that we have protections for fair use. So let's get this up there, and let me find the banner here real quick, and bear with me, guys. Sorry, I'm moving a little bit slow today. Lady Hammer, that's a possibility. And for those of you that are tuned in that requested the recipe, so basically 32 ounces is what I use to make my batches. If you do the math and reduce the amount of ingredients, you can make smaller batches. That's just the size that I make and have always made. So I've never done the math on making smaller batches, but I know people who have made smaller batches after they get the recipe. So you don't have to make it as big a batch as I made. You can make it whatever size you want. Okay. All right. So let's get into this. This is here we go. Oops. I thought that was full screen. There we go. Okay, here we go.
They'll be hearing an address from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, bringing you some of the sights and sounds of the chamber ahead of the address. You're watching live coverage here on C-SPAN.
I'm going to jump us 10 seconds at a time here until he enters. Looks like everybody's starting to find their seats. Look like they're rushing. Yeah, I don't want us watching like 10 minutes of them standing around. Here comes Mike Johnson. He's got his opening statement there, or a copy of the speech. I'd like to point out a couple of things. Mike Johnson stated that if anybody interrupts Netanyahu, they will be arrested and removed. So that's going to be interesting.
Yahoo's address scheduled to start in about 20 minutes. C-SPAN's live on the House floor, taking in some of the prep.
Jump. I'm going to jump.
Gentleman from Utah, Mr. Moore.
Okay,
The joint meeting will come to order.
here we go.
The chair appoints as members of the committee on the part of the House to escort His Excellency Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of the State of Israel, into the chamber. The gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Scalise. The gentleman from Minnesota, Mr. Emmer. The gentlewoman from New York, Ms. Stefanik. The gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Reschenthaler. The gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Palmer. The gentleman from Utah, Mr. Moore. Gentlewoman from Michigan, Mrs. McLean. The gentleman from Texas, Mr. McCall. Gentleman from New York, Mr. Jeffries. Gentlewoman from Massachusetts, Ms. Clark. The gentleman from California, Mr. Aguilar. The gentleman from California, Mr. Liu. The gentlewoman from Florida, Ms. Wasserman Schultz. The gentleman from California, Mr. Sherman. Gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Schneider. And the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Gottheimer.
The acting president pro temp of the Senate, at the direction of that body, appoints the following senators as members of the committee on the part of the Senate to escort His Excellency, the senator from Idaho.
This guy's got to be escorted in by all these fancy people. Tells me something's going on here. Jump again.
Congress, I have the high. No. Oh. Members of Congress, I have the high. No. Oh, announcement.
Mr. Speaker, the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps.
Damn it. And we think that Trump's late all the time, right? Oh.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister of the State of Israel.
Geez, get down to the microphone, old man. First thing I want to point out is that 90% of these people have dual citizenship with Israel and the United States. Where exactly do their loyalties lie?
Members of Congress, I now have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you His Excellency Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel.
Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, Senator Ben Cardin, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, Senators, members of Congress, distinguished guests. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for giving me the profound honor of addressing this great citadel of democracy for the fourth time. We meet today at a crossroads of history. Our world is in upheaval. In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. This is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization. It's a clash between those who glorify death and those who sanctify life. For the forces of civilization to triumph, America and Israel must stand together. Because when we stand together, something very simple happens. We win, they lose. And my friends, I came to assure you today of one thing: we will win. Ladies and gentlemen, like December 7th, 1941, and September 11th, 2001, October 7th is a day that will forever live in infamy. It was the Jewish holiday of Simchat Torah. It began as a perfect day, not a cloud in the sky. Thousands of young Israelis were celebrating at an outdoor music festival. And suddenly, at 6:29 a.m., as children were still sleeping soundly in their beds in the towns and kibbutzim next to Gaza, suddenly heaven turned into hell. 3,000 Hamas terrorists stormed into Israel. They butchered 1,200 people from 41 countries, including 39 Americans. Proportionately, compared to our population size, that's like 20 9/11s in one day. And these monsters, they raped women, they beheaded men, they burned babies alive, they killed parents in front of their children, and children in front of their parents. They dragged 255 people, both living and dead, into the dark dungeons of Gaza. Israel has already brought home 135 of these hostages, including 7 who were freed in daring rescue operations. One of those freed hostages, Noor Gamani, is here in the gallery, sitting near my wife, Sarah. On the morning of October 7th, the entire world saw Noah's look of desperation as she was violently abducted to Gaza on the back of a motorcycle. I met Noah's mother, Leora, a few months ago. She was dying of cancer. She said to me, "Prime Minister, I have one final wish. I wish to hug my daughter Noah one last time before I die." 2 months ago, I authorized a breathtaking commando rescue operation. Our special forces, including a heroic officer named Arnon Zmora, who fell in this battle, rescued Noah and 3 other hostages. Noah, I think it's one of the most moving things. When Noah was reunited with her mother, Leora, and her mother's last wish came true. Noah, we're so thrilled to have you with us today. Thank you. Many hostage families are also here with us today, including Eliyahu Bibas. Eliyahu Bibas is the grandfather of those two beautiful red-headed boys, the Bibas boys, toddlers. And they were taken hostage with their mother and and Eliyahu's son. The entire family was taken hostage. Two beautiful red-haired children taken hostage. What monsters. And with us also is Iris Chaim, whose son, Yotam, bravely escaped Hamas captivity with two other Israelis, and tragically they were killed, making their way back to our lines. We have with us also the families of American hostages. They're here. The pain these families have endured is beyond words. I met with them again yesterday, and I promised them this: I will not rest until all their loved ones are home, all of them. As we speak, we're actively engaged in intensive efforts to secure their release, and I'm confident that these efforts can succeed. Some of them are taking place right now. I want to thank President Biden for his tireless efforts on behalf of the hostages and for his efforts to the hostage families as well. I thank President Biden for his heartfelt support for Israel after the savage attack on October 7th. He rightly called Hamas sheer evil. He dispatched 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East to deter a wider war. And he came to Israel to stand with us during our darkest hour, a visit that will never be forgotten. President Biden and I have known each other for over 40 years. I want to thank him for half a century of friendship to Israel and for being, as he says, a proud Zionist. Actually, he says a proud Irish American.
Is that as far as they go? Really? That's kind of messed up. That they cut it off like that. Wonder what is going on with that. Why is it not coming up? Okay. Now, let me back it up here.
Fight it, without exception. Without exception.
Okay, bear with me, guys.
We must unequivocally condemn it and resolutely fight it. Without unequivocally condemn it and law and justice, fight it, without exception.
So, this is crazy that they just clipped out a whole crap load of the speech. I'm a little bit disappointed in this, C-SPAN. But one thing I want to make clear is that you notice who is not in the room. Well, Kamala's not there, and neither is Biden.
And that's more than 3,000. When the blood libels against the Jewish state come from people who wear fancy silk robes and speak in lofty tones about law and justice, here's a case in point. The prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has shamefully accused Israel of deliberately starving the people of Gaza. This is utter, complete nonsense. It's a complete fabrication. Israel has enabled more than 40,000 aid trucks to enter Gaza. That's 500,000 tons of food. And that's more than 3,000 calories for every man, woman, and child in Gaza. If there are Palestinians in Gaza who aren't getting enough food, it's not because Israel is blocking it, it's because Hamas is stealing it. So much for that lie, but here's another. The ICC prosecutor accuses Israel of deliberately targeting civilians. What in God's green earth is he talking about? The IDF has dropped millions of flyers, sent millions of text messages, made hundreds of thousands of phone calls to get Palestinian civilians out of harm's way. But at the same time, Hamas does everything in its power to put Palestinian civilians in harm's way. They fire rockets from schools, from hospitals, from mosques. They even shoot their own people when they try to leave the war zone. A senior Hamas official, Fatri Hamad, boasted, listen to this, he boasted that Palestinian women and children excel at being human shields. His words, excel at being human shields. What monstrous evil. For Israel, every civilian death is a tragedy. For Hamas, it's a strategy. They actually want Palestinian civilians to die so that Israel will be smeared in the international media and be pressured to end the war before it's won. This would enable Hamas to survive another day, and as they vowed, to carry out October 7th again and again and again. Well, I want to assure you, no matter what pressure is brought to bear, I will never allow that to happen. The vast majority of Americans.
The t-shirt says, seal the deal, is what the t-shirt says. That's what multiple people throughout the crowd are wearing, the yellow t-shirt that says, seal the deal. Did we just fucking jump again?
Warfare studies at West Point. He studied every major urban conflict. I was going to say in modern history. He corrected me. No, in history. Israel, he said, has implemented more precautions to prevent civilian harm than any military in history and beyond what international law requires. That's why, despite all the lies you've heard, the war in Gaza has one of the lowest ratios of combatants to non-combatants casualties in the history of urban warfare. And you want to know where it's lowest in Gaza? It's lowest in Rafah. In Rafah. Remember what so many people said? If Israel goes into Rafah, there'll be thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of civilians killed. Well, last week, I went into Rafah. I visited our troops as they finished fighting Hamas's remaining terrorist battalions. I asked the commander there, how many terrorists did you take out in Rafah? He gave me an exact number, 1,203. I asked him, how many civilians were killed? He said, Prime Minister, practically none, with the exception of a single incident where shrapnel from a bomb hit a Hamas weapons depot and unintentionally killed 24 people? The answer is practically none. You want to know why? Because Israel got the civilians out of harm's way, something people said we could never do, but we did it. These heroes here today, the heroic soldiers of Israel, should not be condemned for how they're conducting the war in Gaza. They should be commended for it. I want to thank all of you here today who forcefully opposed the false accusations of the ICC and stood up for the truth. These lies are not only libelous, they're downright dangerous. The ICC is trying to shackle Israel's hands and prevent us from defending ourselves. And if Israel's hands are tied, America is next. And I'll tell you what else is next. The ability of all democracies to fight terrorism will be imperiled. That's what's on the line. So let me assure you, the hands of the Jewish state will never be shackled. Israel will always defend itself. My friends, in the Middle East, Iran is virtually behind all the terrorism, all the turmoil, all the chaos, all the killing. And that should come as no surprise. When he founded the Islamic Republic, Ayatollah Khomeini pledged, "We will export our revolution to the entire world." We will export the Islamic revolution to the entire world. Now ask yourself, which country ultimately stands in the way of Iran's maniacal plans to impose radical Islam on the world? And the answer is clear. It's America, the guardian of Western civilization and the world's greatest power. That's why Iran sees America as its greatest enemy. Last month, we heard a revealing comment, ostensibly about the war in Gaza, but about something else. It came from the foreign minister of Iran's proxy, Hezbollah, and he said this: "This is not a war with Israel. Israel," he said, "is merely a tool. The main war, the real war, is with America." Iran's regime has been fighting America from the moment it came to power. In 1979, it stormed the American embassy. It held scores of Americans hostage for 444 days. Since then, Iran's terrorist proxies have targeted America in the Middle East and beyond. In Beirut, they killed 241 US servicemen. In Africa, they bombed American embassies. In Iraq, they supplied explosives to maim and kill thousands of American soldiers. In America, they actually sent death squads. They sent death squads here to murder a former Secretary of State and a former National Security Advisor. And as we recently learned, they even brazenly threatened to assassinate President Trump. But Iran understands that to truly challenge America, it must first conquer the Middle East. And for this, it uses its many proxies, including the Houthis, Hezbollah, and Hamas. Yet in the heart of the Middle East, standing in Iran's way, is one proud pro-American democracy, my country, the State of Israel. That's why the mobs in Tehran chant death to Israel before they chant death to America. For Iran, Israel is first, America is next. So when Israel fights Hamas, we're fighting Iran. When we fight Hezbollah, we're fighting Iran. When we fight the Houthis, we're fighting Iran. And when we fight Iran, we're fighting the most radical and murderous enemy of the United States of America. And one more thing. When Israel acts to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons that could destroy Israel and threaten every American city, every city that you come from, we're not only protecting ourselves, we're protecting you. My friends, if you remember one thing from the speech, remember this. Our enemies are your enemies. Our fight is your fight, and our victory will be your victory. Ladies and gentlemen, that victory is in sight. Israel's defeat of Hamas will be a powerful blow to Iran's axis of terror. Another part of that axis, Hezbollah, attacked Israel on October 8th, a day after the Hamas attack. It has launched thousands of missiles and drones against us. 80,000 of our citizens in northern Israel evacuated their homes, becoming effectively refugees in their own land. We are committed to returning them home. We prefer to achieve this diplomatically. But let me be clear. Israel will do whatever it must do to restore security to our northern border and return our people safely to their homes. Last Friday, a third Iranian proxy, the Houthis, attacked Tel Aviv with a deadly drone. It exploded a few hundred feet from the American consulate, killing one person and injuring 9. On Saturday, I authorized a swift response to that attack. All our enemies should know this. Those who attack Israel will pay a very heavy price. And as we defend ourselves, on all fronts, I know that America has our back. And I thank you for it. All sides of the aisle, thank you. My friends, for decades, America has provided Israel with generous military assistance, and a grateful Israel has provided America with critical intelligence that saved many lives. We've jointly developed some of the most sophisticated weapons on Earth. I choose my words carefully. We've jointly developed some of the most sophisticated weapons on Earth that help protect both our countries. And we also help keep American boots, we help keep Americans' boots off the ground while protecting our shared interests in the Middle East. I deeply appreciate America's support, including in this current war. But this is an exceptional moment. Fast-tracking U.S. military aid can dramatically expedite an end to the war in Gaza and help prevent a broader war in the Middle East. In World War II, As Britain fought on the front lines of civilization, Winston Churchill appealed to Americans with these famous words: "Give us the tools and we'll finish the job." Today, as Israel fights on the front line of civilization, I too appeal to America. Give us the tools faster and we'll finish the job faster. My dear friends, the war in Gaza could end tomorrow if Hamas surrenders, disarms, and returns all the hostages. But if they don't, Israel will fight until we destroy Hamas's military capabilities, end its rule in Gaza, and bring all our hostages home. That's what total victory means, and we will settle for nothing less. The day after we defeat Hamas, a new Gaza can emerge. My vision for that day is of a demilitarized and de-radicalized Gaza. Israel does not seek to resettle Gaza, but for the foreseeable future, we must retain overriding security control there to prevent the resurgence of terror, to ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel. Gaza should have a civilian administration run by Palestinians who do not seek to destroy Israel. That's not too much to ask. It's a fundamental thing that we have a right to demand and to receive. A new generation of Palestinians must no longer be taught to hate Jews, but rather to live in peace with us. Those twin words, demilitarization and de-radicalization, those two concepts were applied to Germany and Japan after World War II, and that led to decades of peace, prosperity, and security. Following our victory, with the help of regional partners, the demilitarization and de-radicalization of Gaza can also lead to a future of security, prosperity, and peace. That's my vision for Gaza. Now, here's my vision for the broader Middle East. It's also shaped in part by what we saw in the aftermath of World War II. After that war, America forged a security alliance in Europe to counter the growing Soviet threat. Likewise, America and Israel today can forge a security alliance in the Middle East to counter the growing Iranian threat. All countries that are at peace with Israel and all those countries who will make peace with Israel should be invited to join this alliance. We saw a glimpse of that potential alliance on April 14th. Led by the United States, more than half a dozen nations worked alongside Israel to help neutralize hundreds of missiles and drones launched by Iran against us. Thank you, President Biden, for bringing that coalition together. The new alliance I envision would be a natural extension of the groundbreaking Abraham Accords. Those accords saw peace forged between Israel and 4 Arab countries, and they were supported by Republicans and Democrats alike. We could call I have a name for this new alliance. I think we should call it the Abraham Alliance. I want to thank President Trump for his leadership in brokering the historic Abraham Accords. Like Americans, Israelis were relieved that President Trump emerged safe and sound from that dastardly attack on him, dastardly attack on American democracy. There is no room for political violence in democracies.
You know, he's only saying that because he wants to meet with Trump.
I also want to thank President Trump for all the things he did for Israel, from recognizing Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights, to confronting Iran's aggression, to recognizing Jerusalem as our capital and moving the American embassy there. That's Jerusalem, our eternal capital, never to be divided again. My dear friends, Democrats and Republicans, despite these times of upheaval, I'm hopeful about the future. I'm hopeful about Israel because my people, the Jewish people, emerged from the depths of hell, from dispossession and genocide. And against all odds, we restored our sovereignty in our ancient homeland. We built a powerful and vibrant democracy, a democracy that pushes the boundaries of innovation for the betterment of all humanity. I'm hopeful about America because I'm hopeful about Americans. I know how much the people of this country have sacrificed to defend freedom. America will continue to be a force for light and good in a dark and dangerous world. For free peoples everywhere, America remains the beacon of liberty its extraordinary founders envisioned back in 1776. Working together, I'm confident that our two nations will vanquish the tyrants and terrorists who threaten us both. As Israel's Prime Minister, I promise you this: no matter how long it takes, no matter how difficult the road ahead, Israel will not relent. Israel will not bend. We will defend our land. We will defend our people. We will fight until we achieve victory. Victory over liberty, rather victory of liberty over tyranny, victory of life over death, victory of good over evil. That's our solemn commitment. And we will continue to work with the United States and our Arab partners to transform a troubled region from a backwater of repression, poverty, and war into a thriving oasis of dignity, prosperity, and peace. In this noble mission, as in many others, Israel will always remain America's indispensable ally. Through thick and thin, in good times and in bad, Israel will always be your loyal friend and your steadfast partner. On behalf of the people of Israel, I came here today to say thank you, America. Thank you for your support and solidarity. Thank you for standing in Israel, with Israel, in our hour of need. Together we shall defend our common civilization. Together we shall secure a brilliant future for both our nations. May God bless Israel, may God bless America, and may God bless the great alliance between Israel and America forever.
Yeah, I think we've had enough of him. I say that we don't pay taxes anymore until they start paying us back. And I'm talking about the U.S. government. I'm talking about Israel. I'm talking about all of them. I say we don't pay no more fucking taxes until they start giving back. You know?
There's 3 teams that split.
That's what I say. Not that what I say matters. But, yeah, it's we are getting quite a few. Okay, give me a second here. Let me go through a couple of things. Numerous police are in riot gear and are on high alert as they are deploying pepper spray as thousands of pro-Palestine protesters are turning violent as they approach the U.S. Capitol. Currently, numerous D.C. Metro Police, along with Capitol Police and other agencies, are on high alert and in riot gear, wearing gas masks and holding up riot shields, now deploying pepper spray as things are now turning violent with the thousands of protesters. The protesters are trying to make their way to the U.S. Capitol building, chanting slogans and waving flags. Objects have already been thrown at law enforcement as tensions rapidly rise and escalate with more activists and protesters marching. Police have set up barriers or barricades and are also using loudspeakers to issue warnings. This is still developing. So, let's see here.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
Rosario right here. He's the one who pepper sprayed everyone for no reason. There were kids in the crowd when you pepper sprayed people. There are still kids in the crowd when you pepper sprayed people. For what? Because they walked the wrong direction? You want to pepper spray people?
The woman of God,
mean, I didn't really see anybody being violent. I didn't. Did anybody see anybody striking anybody or anything? They were shouting at them, but I didn't really see any violence. So I'm not sure. Let's see. James O'Keefe, OMG. That's O'Keefe Media Group, featured a citizen journalist video exposing Act Blue money laundering. Phoenix, Arizona resident had 20 plus donation made in her name to Act Blue. She did not recognize the donation. There's no way I could afford that. The donors are denying high volumes. And the thing is now James already covered Act Blue even before the last election when he was with Project Veritas. He's done more on it since he's, since he has been there. This is in Ireland. Globalism, drone footage of the ever-expanding migrant camp where thousands of military fighting-age men will be housed and paid for. These encampments are being constructed across the country on agricultural land and taxpayer money used to convert existing buildings for additional accommodations. The EU just awarded Ireland 200 million plus euros for good behavior in meeting their shared goals. One of these goals means Ireland has to import and home a number of immigrants, regardless of their impact on local communities, infrastructure, and the objection of the vast majority of Irish people. Ireland is quickly reaching the breaking point. And this is what they're doing to these people's farms, That's just uncool. It really is. It's happening here too, it's just, yeah. All right, let me get to my feed. I'm gonna stop sharing for a minute just so I can get this scrolled down and not have everybody's eyeballs bugging out because I'm jumping through the screen so fast. And then we'll start with the stuff that I started working with last night and moving into stuff that I acquired this morning. My opinion of Israel, as most of you know, is they're not the real Jews. These people have manipulated and been teeter-tottering our system for so long. World manipulation through, vast media, ownership and everything else. And it's just really crazy to see, the direction this is going. But like I said, I don't think the U.S. government should be getting any more tax dollars. And I don't think that the Israeli government should be getting any tax dollars until they actually start taking care of the American people. And if they're not willing to do that, then they need to get the fuck out and stay out. It's just that it's just that simple, and I'm getting tired of it. I know everybody else is getting tired of it. It's just, it's absolutely 100% ridiculous. Okay, I want to start off with something, and this is a prime example of what I was actually talking to you guys about either yesterday or the day before. I talked to you guys about, what happened with my farm here. And, to operate 5 greenhouses, producing both food and medical cannabis. Okay. And run all 5 of the buildings that we have out here, power wise, came out to $4,500 a month, every month, from 2017 until the farm shut down in 2021. Okay. And the reason that, the shutdown was mandatory was because of the fact that our electric bill in a 30-day period, using the exact same amount of usage, not an amp more, okay, and it was went from 4,500 to 12,000. And I've actually shown that bill on a podcast previously. I think I have it here on my desk somewhere still, where they asked for $12,000, and I'm like, fuck you. Turn it off. Turn it off. I'll live off the grid. I don't care. I'll live off the grid. I don't care. My water bill, okay, used to be around $130 a month to run all the greenhouses and everything. And my water bill went up over $3,000, and I was actually using less water. Turn it off. I have my water trucked in. My buddy Jake lives on the other side of town here. He's got 3 wells. He fills up these 275-gallon tanks and brings them over and refills my tanks for me. Makes a delivery to me once a month. And the dogs go through about 18 to 20 gallons of water a day. So it's a lot of water that has to get trucked in, but if I had the greenhouses running, I would need, 30 times more than that, and everything. So, it's crazy. But so what I'm going to show you now is an example of what happened with me that is now happening in other places. If you don't know what's coming with Democrat leadership, look to California. Electricity bills for small businesses increased from $1,000 to $21,000. Residents' bills increased from $400 to $1,000 minimum. The energy company PG&E donates to the liberal super PAC Golden State Leadership Fund. Yes, this is real. Something ain't right for them to be allowed to charge a restaurant like me $21,000 for 1 month, and my rent's only $10,000. He's not the only one. So let's pull up this interview here. It's only like a minute and a half long at the most. So here we go.
Something ain't right for them to be allowed to charge a restaurant like me $21,000 for 1 month, and my rent's only $10,000.
He's not the only one.
One of my servers today, she said my PG&E bill this last month was $1,000, and this is a young lady with 2 kids. She goes, we can't afford that.
Daisy Saldana is also a server there. Her PG&E bill last month, she says, around $700.
It has been hot, but I feel like that's like a little bit extreme, $700.
The month before that, $400. Luckily, she says she splits it with 3 roommates, or else
it would be my whole paycheck, actually.
For Yosemite Falls customers, it's the same story.
It's ridiculously high, especially when you're on a set income and you only I don't have the best paying job, and what I make, it seems like it's going to the PG&E bill.
Other customers who overheard us speaking to Perales say they couldn't believe his utility bill was double his rent to keep his business running. That's on top of inflation and minimum wage recently going up.
Yeah. So, that's just to give you a prime example, of what back in 2021 made me have to close the gate and lock it, shut down the greenhouses, shut down the buildings, it's crazy. It's crazy. I can't, I can't fathom what that guy's going through is, to go from $1,000 a month to $21,000 a month. That's twice what they did to me. It was almost like Oregon was a test pattern to see if they could get people to comply with it, But you figure I spend about $240 to $260 a week on gas in order to run this building, run a freezer that I have outside, and then run my kitchen area, which is in one of those pop-up garages. I got a small pizza oven out there. I got a smoker / grill, and I got a microwave out there, and then of course I have the stuff that I need for babies, the puppies. But that's all stuff you can't run on solar. It would drain the battery as fast as you turn on a grinder in order to grind up the puppy food. The amperage for it and everything just doesn't math out. So you figure I spend about $240 a month a week to run the generators, night and day. And then if I have to turn on the air conditioner, then that burns through the fuel even faster. So anything over 86 out here is almost unbreathable air. So there's points that I have to do it, and let me tell you, every dog comes inside when they hear the air conditioner come on. They come inside and they stay in until I turn off the air conditioner. Not kidding. Even the dogs know. It's clear as a bell. But understand that at the same time that I'm paying basically, around $1,200 a month for power out here through running the generators. I'm not paying PG&E $4,500 or $12,000. So I understand the value of that difference. And believe me, long podcasts, 5-hour podcasts, 6-hour podcasts, believe me, I'm burning through, $30 to $40 worth of fuel, just to do a podcast. But the fact of the matter is no matter how they try to get me, I'm not stopping. They're never going to stop me. Okay. You can take away my channels and I'm going to come up with another one, and I'll come up with another one, and I'll come up with another one, and I'll come up with another one. And it'll be so repetitious that eventually you'll want to kill yourself because you can't figure out how to get rid of me. We've been watching the systematic destruction of the United States for the last 4 years, 3.5 years. Okay. Well, they started before. They started working towards it even before Trump left office. So we could say 4 years. They were working out a good 6 months, because while Trump was distracted with running for office, they were pulling shenanigans, both in the Senate and in Congress. Mitch McConnell showed his true colors. He's a fucking traitor. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. Okay. Kevin McCarthy, another traitor. Okay. These people have been robbing the American people blind for generations. And what's going to be awesome, and understand me when I say this, and it is going to happen, okay, is when all of that comes to an end, and we, the people, restore true authoritarian climate to this country. And climate to me is not anything to do with weather. Okay? The seas ain't fucking rising. The snows aren't melting. Sections of the ice caps are falling off, but there are brand new ones right behind them. And the seas ain't rising. You can look at the historical records of every flood and everything else. Okay. After a flood happens, what happens? Everything goes back to, back to the exact same water levels that they were before. So it's almost like God reached down and decided to tip the lake to share some with some other people and cleanse and replenish a land, and then set it back down, and then the water reserves just filled right back up. That's why I said tipped. And the earth is flat. They're damn right, it's flat. It's a flat plane. Mostly flat plane. But if you think about it, I think half of our mountain regions and everything else, I think those are the carcasses of giants. I do. So, the best thing that could have happened for Britain was if a giant had fell on the east coast of the Americas back then, and the head of it landed in England. Then they would have had it would have been a bigger country, But what can I say? But we look at all this stuff and we begin to gain an understanding that things are not what they tell us. There's a lot more to it. And we're going to be learning about all of it. We are. The exposure of these people is outrageous. What we've been, watching going on just over the last couple of months. Okay. I was talking with Dave late last night. As a matter of fact, I kept him up quite a bit last night. I just rambled on for quite a while. I apologize for that, Dave. But one of the things I said to him, our news cycle used to be about every 96 hours, something would drop. And then it went down to 72 hours. Every 72 hours, something would drop. Okay. And then it came to the point where dropped from 76 hours down to 48. Every 48 hours, something was coming out. Every 36 hours, something was coming out. Every 24 hours, something was coming out. Now it's every 8 to 12 hours. A whole bunch of stuff comes out. So if you didn't understand what the drip, drip, drip flood meant, now you do. One person cannot keep up with everything that is coming out today. One person cannot do it. So you got to kind of pick your avenue. You got to pick your topic, research your topic, and then follow your topic to the end to ensure that everything is accurate. And right now we are covering about 20 different topics, and trying our best to stay as current as possible. The climate of the people, not the climate of the weather, okay, is going to change. We are seeing the effective change. Bit by bit by bit, drip by drip by drip, breadcrumb by breadcrumb by breadcrumb. And it is getting faster. It's going to come to a point where there'll be such a dump of news over an hour-long period that you had better hope that you had solidified with yourself with what you're going to continue your research and follow, okay, and then just monitor it and watch for each hourly report that comes out about it. Because it's getting to the point where it's going to change that fast. Now, the big thing is misinformation and disinformation. Okay, we don't get everything right, and I never claim to. I try to get as accurate as possible. I've made mistakes. Other people have made mistakes. We just keep moving on. We keep moving on, and we keep moving on. That's what we got to do, you know. And I think that watching people squirm like they are, like Anthony Weiner in that video that I showed you guys yesterday of him with Patrick David. I think it's PDB is the name of his channel. Okay. That, you know, when we watched that, we saw Weiner's reaction to even the first topic coming out and him totally wigging out. Okay. Now, back at the 2020 election, when the results were in and they said, you know, I was pissed. Okay. And I made a statement and I meant it. And that was the only thing that I wanted to say. I didn't want to say anything else about it, is that there can't be a 2024 or a 2022 until 2020 is fixed. You know, it's like this old Ford truck. 2020 seems to be this old Ford truck that nobody wants to wants to fix because it's found on the road dead daily. So nobody wants to fix that Ford. I can't blame them. I wouldn't want to fix a Ford, especially with the new motors they got, new designs where you can't do anything yourself. It has to be the dealership or you have to go to a special mechanic in order to get it done. Locking people in, forcing people into having to spend more and more and more and more and more of your earnings to take care of these things. So a lot of people don't want to go back and do the repair on that old Ford. And you can't blame them. You can't. But I still stand by what I said back then, and I meant it, and that's why I walked off a couple of different podcasts after I made my statement is, listen, you know, I slammed my fist down on the desk and said, there cannot be a 2024 presidential election until 2020 is fixed. And we've watched people fight for the last 4 years just to get heard in cases. Okay. And we've had such a corrupt judicial system that people are not getting fair adjudication from the courts or from their representatives. And until that is done, we can't really move forward. The only thing we can do is learn as much as we possibly can and shout it from the rooftops. That's it. That's all we can do. Learn what we can, shout it from the rooftops, wait for the rest of whoever else is going to wake up. It's going to come time soon. You know, that picture on the background of my screen isn't just there for nothing. It said, surround yourself with those on the same mission as you, saving our country. Saving our country. But I look at that picture every single day, and I surround myself with other lions who are on the same mission as myself. All right, let's get into this X feed. Here we go. Conservative ant cackles somewhere else.
Good morning. Headed back to the beautiful free state of Florida. Cannot wait. Listen. There's so much. First of all, why have we not heard from Joey yet? Is he all right? I'm actually I actually feel bad for the dude. They just pushed him out in the worst way possible. A. B. Can y'all stop using the fact that Donald Trump is old? Because you've been trying to protect Joe for being old, and it's not being a big deal for a long time. And C. I already know what y'all are going to use. Y'all are going to use, oh, you're being misogynistic, sexist, racist, that Kamala is a piece of dog shit. Okay? If any woman could run for president, it shouldn't be Kamala Harris. And can Hillary Clinton fuck all the way off and go get a job at a garden center or something? I'm sick of seeing her fucking face. And why are people surprised that Hollywood is backing this shit? And oh, here we go, a surgical tech walking by. Why are people surprised that Hollywood's backing this? They always backed us. Like, I'm already turned up for today. Have a good morning.
It's just fun. He's funny. He is funny. Yep. All right, here we go. This is hysterical. Trump, Biden, Obama, Clinton, McConnell, Newsom, Bernie, Tucker. Here we go.
They shot me and missed me like a dog. It's sad what happened. They tried to take out your favorite president. Even Mitch agrees.
Well, listen, what you have to realize is, if somebody had shot at me, I simply would have frozen up completely, Barack. Now, we have to realize that in America, political violence of any form has absolutely no place, Ted.
If somebody shot at me, I would have been on the first flight to Cancun, Gavin. Now, Donald Trump may be a bully and a fraud, but violence has no place in this country, except if you live in California. Bernie, Mr. Trump, though he's a member of the top 10th of 1%, I'm grateful he's safe. DeSantis, listen, Donald Trump, he's the greatest president of my lifetime. I worship the guy. Thank God he's okay. Bill Clinton, I love shooting loads. I really do. Tucker, good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. I actually predicted the assassination, Dr. Fauci. Whenever you do try to hurt somebody, wear a mask. Make sure. President Biden, it's no Joe. It's not Joe. We're going to solve this at the battle box. At the battle box. President Lincoln's safe. Doing well.
Okay. He's got a career. He's got a future. No doubt about it. All right. Representative Matt Gaetz, breaking Federal Bureau of Prisons director, refuses to commit to allowing Congress to seize Steve Bannon in prison. Let's take a listen as to what they tell him.
You heard the chairman say in his opening remarks that we want to go to Danbury Prison in Connecticut, and we want to go there to see Mr. Bannon. So is there going to be any problem in the next few weeks approving a visit with the chairman of this committee to go to Danbury?
As the congressman and I talked about during a one-on-one conversation yesterday, and as I will say to the committee, we will be happy to review that request and make that accommodation as you submit that request to the Office of Legislative Affairs.
Okay, I appreciate the commitment to review it, but are you committing to approve it?
Congressman, those approvals actually happen through the Office of Legislative Affairs. I can't foresee an issue with the approval of that. But
this is a legislative affair. You're testifying before your oversight subcommittee. So why don't you just tell us that you'll approve our trip to go to Danbury?
But that approval rests with the department. We have a longstanding process of reviewing.
There's not some other person. You're the head of the department. Why can't you just say we can go?
We have a long-standing process of those requests being reviewed by the department, and I will encourage my team to work closely with the department in reviewing that request.
That is just a total non-answer. I mean, this is what we get, Mr. Chairman. This is what we get. Arbitrary standards, non-answers, and frankly, if we continue to fund it and tolerate, it's all we're going to get. So I would encourage some robust oversight here. I would not want to be in a position where you guys deny this request.
Let's take away their money. See how they like it then. Yeah. The Democrats are going to run on fake excitement for Kamala. Here we go.
You heard the big assignments she had were the border and artificial intelligence. And I can't name any progress that we made on that. Okay. Inflation's going our direction. The economy's going direct. And I laughed out loud when the chairman of the Democratic National Committee goes up there and says our process has been open, fair, and transparent. Are you kidding me? They pushed Joe Biden off the cliff. And to do this the way they did it, totally disenfranchised millions of people. Go ahead, explain to me what you think she's actually done.
Let's clear some things up. I think Republicans for a long time have labeled Kamala Harris the border czar. If you go back to
she was.
No. If you go back to the president's If you go back to the president's statement where he asked Kamala Harris to lead the diplomatic effort in the Northern Triangle countries to work on root causes to why people are migrating to the southern border or crossing the border, she was not the border czar. She was responsible for diplomatic efforts getting to the root cause.
Are you telling me that her assignment was find out why people are
Yes,
coming here?
her assignment was the same thing.
Wait, I can tell you that.
No, her assignment
I'm not the vice president.
Her assignment was the same assignment that he had during the Obama administration. And let's also be very clear. For decades, many presidents have tried to deal with the problem in America's southern border, starting with George H.W. Bush to today. And not any of those presidents have solved that border. Because let me be very clear, because if Donald Trump had solved the southern border, there wouldn't be border crossings today.
Do we need to show you the numbers, Richard?
No,
Jason,
but there were a million border crossings during Donald Trump's first year as president.
Yeah, well, then he did something about it.
But it never went down to zero border crossings. Not one president has solved the border crossings in this country, period.
Not completely.
Of course, that's my point.
Everything is irrelevant.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to force Kamala Harris to wear the cross.
But you still haven't said what she's done.
We're trying to force Kamala Harris to wear the cross of the border crossing problem when no president has solved it. The American Congress hasn't solved it, but this woman is supposed to solve it, and that's just woefully unfair.
All right, I'll come back to ask Richard
So
what she's done.
What
But
has
you
she
go ahead,
solved?
Jason.
Richard, name one
I
thing
can give
she's
you
done.
a number
One
of things that she solved. When Kamala Harris was president,
Just name one.
Before Kamala Harris became president in this country,
she's not president.
Before she became vice president, excuse me. She is going to be president. But before she became vice president, there were only three states in this country where maternal care, postpartum care was extended past 12 weeks. Since she has been vice president, now 46 states in this country have extended maternal care, postpartum to 12 weeks for those who are Medicaid recipients. That's a big deal for everyday people who are having babies across this country. We are in the world, we have the most maternal deaths more than any other developed country, and she's working to solve that every single day. This is a real issue that affects real women every day.
All right, Jason, final word to you.
She's impossible to work for. The idea that
There we go. Now there's another
92% of her
attack.
staff.
Another attack, but you
that's
can't
just
do
the
the fact that she
facts.
solved
That's
something
just
now.
her record.
She solved something. He said, what did she solve? I gave you an example.
Pathetic. She has not performed the duties that are going to garner the votes that are necessary. And you know what? Democrats were pretty excited about her when she first ran for president. She was polling 8th in California, her home state. Andrew Yang was doing better, and she had to drop out.
But Jason,
so
to be very clear,
the only person
over the past two nights, over the past two nights, on Sunday night, 44,000 black women had a call supporting Kamala Harris. They raised $1.2 million. Last night, 62,000 black men had a call. They raised $1.5 million supporting Kamala Harris. I don't know what else you want to call, but I call that excitement.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to last very long when people figure out who she is and what she's done. She hasn't accomplished anything.
All right, gentlemen, we got to leave it there, but we've got weeks and weeks to.
Oh, boy. Yeah. All right. Have you ever asked yourself why the world is such a dumpster fire right now? Well, every day.
Have you asked yourself, why is the world an absolute dumpster fire right now? Like, is it social media? Is it, TV? Why are we in such a mess today? And why are there so many stupid people, considering there's so much information out there that people can read, that they can gather, and that they can gather their thoughts with? Well, I went down that rabbit hole and I found mind control and when it started, how it started, and how we've been developing mind control to be specific to 3 categories that the entire world governments and 3-letter agencies have pretty much placed us in. If you're wondering where I got this from, there's a report called the Henry Kissinger report. Let me show you. It was basically written in 1974, and it is called the National Security Study Memorandum, or the NSSM 200. It started because the government was scared that we would have a population, overflow, and that we would not have enough resources to keep the population asleep, and that they would turn on the government. So literally, population growth became a national security for the government. And so they deployed a bunch, and I mean a bunch of propaganda, whether it was MK Ultra, whether it was media, MSM, propaganda, indoctrination in schools, universities, high schools, you name it. Every single aspect of our life started to change so that we would fit into one of the three categories that they have us categorized now. And I wanted to show you guys a bell curve that I made, that I got from the sources and pulled the information from, but I couldn't really find a bell curve of it. So I drew one for you, and I'll kind of explain what I've read in certain CIA papers. Let me show you. So out of a population in every country, so this is like an entire world population, you have truly asleep, truly awake, and then people in the middle. But let me tell you what they categorize us as. So you've got this group, which are the NPCs, and these 10% on each side are people who kind of take characteristics of both the sheeple and the awake, or the NPC and the sheeple. So you've got the NPCs, which the government calls useful idiots. Then you've got the middle group, the largest population, which is called the sheep or the sheeple. Then you have 20% goats. Now, if you've ever raised goats, you know why the CIA calls the awakened goats. And those of you who think that there is truly an awakening happening, it's not. It's just that this 10% is getting louder. The sheep will always be sheep. And what's interesting about each group is it has nothing to do with your social status, religion, political status, or how much money you make, what your education level is. It has to do with IQ and how emotionally awake you are. And it's super interesting. And I'm thinking of doing an entire series of basically explaining to people how they're being targeted by the government for propaganda.
Interesting. She's on fire. Here we go.
For the sake of my mental health, I need y'all to check in with me, because I can't be the only one noticing this shit, right? Why is it that in America we have more fitness centers than anywhere in the world or any generation before us, but none of us are actually fit? We have more vitamin and supplement centers than anywhere else in the world or any generation before us, but none of us are actually healthy. They don't do that in other countries, because in other countries, they get their nutrition from their food, which leads me to my next point. We pay more on a daily basis just to obtain regular food, and none of it has any healthy or nutritional properties at all. It's quite the contrary. It's actually poisoning us and making us sick, where we have access to the best medical advancements and technology ever to exist. We're still a nation chock full of obese, diabetic, cancer patients. We have an abundant amount of mental health resources, but we're all suffering from anxiety, depression, or insomnia, potentially all of the above. We sleep more than we ever did. We're always tired. We drink more water than ever before. We're constantly dehydrated. We work harder than we ever have. We're always fucking poor. We have insane skin regimens, but we're aging in fucking dog years. Like, I just can't fucking wrap my head around it. I seriously can't. Never before in the history of America or in any other country have they put such a large amount of money and attention into health and beauty and not been healthy nor beautiful. And why do you think that is?
Ma'am, can you tell us how you really feel? Yeah. All right. Debbie Dodson says, I attended a CPAC conference headed by Rick Grinnell, former acting director of U.S. National Intelligence, and Matt Schlapp, head of the CPAC, discussed how President Trump gets things done quickly and how they're ready to reach out more to urban communities. Had a great talk with Matt. Let's take a listen.
They knew that the next morning there would be tariffs and the Turkish economy would feel it immediately. And so when it comes to Ukraine, when it comes to Russia, both leaders, Zelensky and Putin, they know that Donald Trump has credibility on this issue. So when he says, I'm going to solve this issue, they know he means it, and that the solutions are going to, we're going to have to talk through them and talk through them quickly. President Putin And Joe Biden haven't spoken in 3 years. Our media completely forget that point. Haven't even spoken. Now, I think speaking to someone is a tactic. It's not the goal, but that's how you talk to people to get things done. And so I believe that Donald Trump's credibility and talking through these to say, we're serious, this is going to end, let's do it. And I'll just quickly finish with, I know Minsk 1 and Minsk 2 had problems. We don't think the Russians were ever really that serious about signing it, and therefore there was no enforcement. But I do believe that Minsk 1 and Minsk 2 has some really good concepts in it. This is just me talking. This is not, I've never talked to President Trump about this. This is just Rick Grinnell. I don't speak for the president. But the reality is that Merkel and Obama came up with this territorial integrity with autonomous zones. I think that's a good place.
It's a good place to start. You know, yep. Rick Grinnell. Yeah. All right. What an embarrassment to our country.
Oh, check this out.
Kamala Harris is about to hold the first campaign rally of her bid for president. Alexis, what do you have?
Hey, Dana. Well, if you can see behind me here, there's not a huge line outside of this high school. It's going to be in a high school auditorium where Kamala Harris is going to hold her first rally as a now presidential candidate. What does a rally look like for Kamala Harris?
Well, we'll show you.
See, but I want to show you this because it looks a lot different than
Look
most of the
at
rallies I've
this.
covered since I've been kind of
How
following on Trump.
pathetic.
It's only a few hours until Kamala Harris is set to be here, and there's like 20 people outside here. This field house, she's ready to
Trump 2024. We spend an overnight waiting in line with tens of thousands of people. Give me a fucking break, clown. Oh, check this out.
Yeah. All right. We covered that resolution yesterday that Representative Andy Ogles had introduced articles of impeachment against Kamala Harris for high crimes and misdemeanors. Statement incoming. We're waiting to hear more on that. I mean, therefore I am says, holy shit. Democrat Calvin Ball, the county executive of Howard County, Maryland, refuses to work with ICE and allows local authorities to release dangerous illegal aliens into the community. Here we go.
Had a previous conviction for having an unregistered firearm on him, so let's hope that that's not the case this time.
Over the last 6 months, ICE agents relentlessly searching for 25-year-old Hassim Gumbo, the Chad national, convicted in Howard County for accessory after the fact of murder in the first degree. And before that, unlawful possession of a firearm and theft in Montgomery County.
This is a very dangerous person that is now running the streets.
The lack of a digital and physical footprint of those living in the country illegally makes them exceptionally difficult to find. But this week, ICE announcing a capture finally made in this case.
It has not been easy. It's been resource intensive. It's cost taxpayers a lot of money to do this, where it didn't have to be the case, right? They could have just easily turned them over to us in custody.
Maryland's ICE Director Matthew Elliston, critical of Howard County's strict sanctuary policies prohibiting any local cooperation with ICE detainers.
I think the most frustrating part is we've come to an understanding with everybody else. Everybody is on board. Everybody has seen past the politics except for one person.
He's referring to Howard County Executive Calvin Ball. In recent months, Montgomery and Baltimore County leaders among those adjusting their policies to make exceptions for working with ICE. When violent crimes are committed, they'll now hand inmates over. But Ball isn't budging.
I think we have a legislation that's working right now for Howard County.
Child sex offenders, prolific drug dealers, they're being released back into Howard County, your community, as opposed to being turned over to ICE agents because of a law that you're doubling down on. Do you agree that that's how things should be handled in Howard County?
I agree that when people break the law, they should be held accountable. I also agree that the federal enforcement should enforce federal laws. And I agree that local law enforcement should enforce local laws.
Fox 45's cameras also present when ICE tracked down a convicted drug dealer in Howard County last month and have sent questions concerning the pending release of a convicted sex offender.
I would like for him and the people that work for him to look at this and say, you know what, These are not isolated incidents.
Tonight, we again asked Ball's office for a comment on the growing number of violent offenders being released back into his community. So far, though, no response.
We should all be on the same team when it comes to public safety. It's not a political issue. The idea that you want your residents to live in a safe neighborhood is not political.
Yeah. Very interesting. Let's talk about the BLM statement.
In a strange twist of events that I did not see coming, Black Lives Matter, the organization, is not going to be endorsing Kamala Harris. They even went as far as to break down a timeline of events in order to prove the point that they're trying to make. Talk about Sunday, Joe dropped out, and then Kamala Harris says she's going to work hard to earn the nomination. She makes a call to party delegate. On Sunday, she continues making calls, and she makes 2 public speeches, and then all of a sudden, AP announces she secured enough delegates to be the Democratic nominee on Monday night. Kamala Harris released a statement noting that she has worked hard to go out and earn those nominations. 24-hour process of talking to party bosses is not democratic, nor is it a process Democrats should be proud of. We do not give in to dictatorship. Delegates are not oligarchs. Installing Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee and an unknown vice president without any public voting process would make the modern Democratic Party a party of hypocrites. They are calling on the DNC to create a process that allows for public participation in the nomination process, not just a nomination by party delegates. In their full statement, they state, historically, Black people have been loyal Democratic voters, but time and time again, the party has taken our votes for granted and prioritized political theatrics over our real needs. Go on to recognize the historic sequence of events, but they also want to make sure that they are calling out the undemocratic process and engaging in vigorous discussion in the issues in our community cares about. We do not live in a dictatorship. Delegates are not oligarchs. Any attempt to evade or override the will of the voters in our primary system, no matter how historic the candidate, must be condemned, and we demand, again, a snap primary. I feel like that's going to burn some balls. My takeaway from all this is very encouraging. Their stance is not necessarily about Kamala herself, but the process that the Democratic Party is taking in order to replace Joe Biden. And that's huge because they're right. What the Democratic Party is doing right now is not okay. They took away your freedom to vote, your freedom to choose. It wasn't okay.
Yep. So we're just, it's not so much as the fact of it's not just so much of a fact of them withholding funds because Black Lives Matter isn't being in the spotlight per se. It's got to do with them all of a sudden understanding that they are being used, and possibly, quite possibly, are going to help with removing Democrat voters. Period. We're watching the systematic destruction of the old guard. We will see the destruction of the Democrat Party, and then we will see the destruction of the Republican Party. And it's going to go back to we the people, period. Don't need to have parties. We had some frickin' numbskull who started the American Communist Party. But not cool. All right, explosion at Yellowstone Biscuit Basin. Kim Clement, June 14th, 2014.
But there is a national park where there is an eruption under the earth. For it to come out, and many say it is just simply an eruption. But it is not. It is a sign that I shall contain that which would try and be destructive in this nation. A volcano as a sign.
Just keep moving. Unless there's big holes, follow that guy in the St. Louis City shirt.
Now, this wasn't the geyser that did this, guys.
I'm shaking.
This is from the ground, from the basin itself.
Look, everything is destroyed. Oh my God. Oh my God. Max, keep going, keep going. Holy shit. Holy shit.
So, like I said, that wasn't from a geyser. That was the basin itself. Something is going on down there, and they are shutting it down. The biggest disappointment in all of this woke DEI bullshit is the story I'm about to share with you now. Yeah.
Y'all, this may be the most shocking expose that I've done simply because the brand is so out of alignment with their customers. This is Harley Davidson. It's time for them to be exposed. In Harley's words, they are all in on diversity and inclusion. Now, let's take a look at what that means. I wonder how many Harley riders are aware that Harley Davidson is a platinum founding member of the LGBT Chamber of Commerce in Wisconsin. This is the same chamber that says on behalf of the businesses that are a part of the Wisconsin LGBT Chamber, they opposed banning transgender sex changes for children. Harley Davidson even hosted an LGBTQ plus boot camp at their corporate offices, and look at that sweet cake they got them. Isn't that just so inclusive? Here's a closer look at that cake for all you Harley riders out there. So who's Harley Davidson's CEO? Well, it's another CEO that was placed right around COVID.
Jochen Zeitz is an unusual choice to lead Harley Davidson. He's German. He's an outspoken climate activist.
The businessman who uses his millions to change opinions on climate change. Are you getting Harley Davidson vibes yet?
In 2030, that we should be completing that total transformation of the company.
If his goal is the total transformation of Harley Davidson, well, he's well on his way. They sponsored this LGBTQ plus Pride event where they had a rage room. And I am not joking, something called a rage room to, quote, let off steam. It was located right next to the story time area for children to interact with drag queens and the play catch with a dad for all those who had daddy issues. In Harley's so-called sustainability report, they also say that their 1,800 global employees completed a virtual training to learn what an ally is to the LGBTQ plus community, and then employees also participated in an engaging and interactive learning session that allowed them to explore social identities, both seen and unseen. We all know what that means. And then again, in honor of National Coming Out Day, employees attended a virtual session featuring Sandy Eichel. Let's see who Sandy is.
Sandy Eichel is not your typical financial services speaker. Once a Lutheran pastor's wife, a professional opera singer, and a consummate perfectionist, Sandy had the picture-perfect life. But inside, she was miserable. So she chose a new last name, a new career, and a whole new life and mindset, which elevated her to the top of her profession.
We have to change our culture, and we need to do it quickly.
In their sustainability report, their CEO also brags about their 90 out of 100 HRC CEI score. This score is one I've explained many times before, but essentially is the Trojan horse that pushes all these left-wing values into corporations. And this score begs the question, is Harley Davidson's health plan covering the transition of children? That's one of the metrics that the HRC CEI score judges. And if you're a Harley Davidson dealer, guess what? They've got a plan for you heading into 2032. They want to increase the diversity across the global dealer network at both the staffing and owner-operator levels. That's a fancy corporate speak way of saying less white people. I think it's important to note at this point that the CEO of Harley Davidson is making almost $12 million a year while making these changes. In Harley Davidson's sustainability report, they also bragged that their legal department participated in the American Bar Association's 21-day challenge. Through 21 days of short readings and videos, the challenge encouraged participants to step out of their comfort zones to acquire greater racial literacy and inspire engagement in the fight against racial inequality. So let's take a look at what's in that challenge. It promotes the widely debunked and racist 1619 Project. It promotes a radical book called Black Panthers and White Lies. It promotes the idea that climate change is harming expectant Black mothers, and they promote Marxist Ibram Kendi, who says you can't be an anti-racist unless you're anti-capitalist. This training also supports illegal immigration, and it supports the Marxist Black Lives Matter organization. That's not all, though. This training also makes the case for reparations. Harley Davidson sponsored York County Pride. Here's some photos, totally normal stuff. I'm not even sure what's going on here. Celebrating Pride Month is not enough for Harley Davidson, though. Under their new CEO, they also made March and February months of inclusion. Don't worry, though, because they never miss Pride Month. They also brag in their sustainability report that they support the HRC's call for the Equality Act to be passed. So what is the Equality Act? The Equality Act is a lot like naming a bill, vote yes if you want to say Puppies Act, and then inside the bill, it actually mandates that you kill puppies. The Equality Act in reality has nothing to do with equality. It's about stripping women of their spaces and allowing men into bathrooms and locker rooms. So you can expect to see more bathroom assaults like this. For all you Harley riders out there, I want to be explicitly clear. Harley Davidson supporting the Equality Act being passed means that they support boys competing against your daughters in sports, stripping them of their championships, their opportunities, and their scholarships. It also means that they support men following your daughter into the bathroom, and your daughter is supposed to shut up and be okay with it. But if Harley Davidson did not support the Equality Act and men following little girls in the bathroom, they probably wouldn't win cool awards like this from the LGBT Chamber of Commerce in Wisconsin. So, I mean, really, what matters more here? Harley also apparently did a PFLAG training, that is an organization that supports child sex changes. And here's a quote here, Harley Davidson becoming a trans ally and going beyond the binary. Again, are you feeling Harley vibes yet? If you've been watching my series exposing woke companies, then you're familiar with United Way, who was a partner with John Deere doing a 21-day equity challenge. That challenge is one of the most insane far left pieces of propaganda I have ever seen. And again, United Way pops its head up here with a $320,000 donation from Harley Davidson. So I said, that's weird. How much money has Harley given them? Turns out it is millions. Here's United Way Milwaukee bragging about one of those $1 million donations. So my question is, why is Harley Davidson supporting with millions of dollars an organization that is pushing far left Marxist propaganda on the public? Are Harley riders really cool with supporting an organization like this? Speaking of things coming back around, remember this Bud Light fiasco? And remember how John Deere was also on a Budweiser beer? You seriously cannot make this stuff up. But anyways, back to United Way. If you don't remember them from my John Deere expose, here's a reminder of what their 21-day equity challenge was like. It was recommended to me that I read Ibram Kendi's How to Be an Anti-Racist. It says, read Awake to Woke to Work, Building a Race Equity Culture, essentially a book about bringing wokeness to work. Another challenge option I received was to listen to the podcast episode, Bias Isn't Just a Police Problem, It's a Preschool Problem. No, I'm not joking. And just when we thought we were done with Ibram Kendi, they're discussing his book, Anti-Racist Baby. Yes, that is the children's book about anti-racism. When I was recommended a book about Black transgender people, the first thing that popped in my mind, by the way, tractors. This 21-day equity challenge from United Way also recommended that I watch the 2018 video Deconstructing White Privilege by Robin DiAngelo. Again, another far left figure. So in case you're doubting that Harley Davidson also participated in training with United Way after giving them millions of dollars, well, it's right here. They had more than 65 Milwaukee area employees attend a panel discussion to learn more about the long-standing discrimination issues in the community and how COVID-19 has highlighted the inequalities in our society. Harley Davidson also brags in their sustainability reports that they had employees go for leadership training and diversity training at United Way, and that 15 employees participated in conversations on race with the YMCA, along with other employees who had to go to the White Men is Full Diversity Partners training. That is a white male only training course. That's not enough though. They also had 50 employees take part in a training with the Human Library Organization. Let's take a look at the Human Library Organization. No surprises here, but I really wanted to make sure all you riders are aware that the Harley-supported Pride Ride in Wisconsin is a safe space for you. Again, no, I am not joking. Harley's activism does not stop there. They also were named a top business partner for LGBTQ+ inclusion by the Pennsylvania Youth Congress, who they support. And the Pennsylvania Youth Congress is also responsible for getting gender-neutral IDs in Pittsburgh.
Harley Davidson is an American icon. Its CEO, Jochen Zeiss, is taking it down a new road.
Well, they've got that right. I meet Ryan. He's Harley Davidson's program and project management. And he says that he is so proud to work at a company where this is not a controversial post to make, especially in the current environment with anti-trans and anti-drag bills passing all over the country. This is on Transgender Day of Visibility. Now, let's be very clear what he's talking about. He's talking about laws that ban sex changes for kids and ban children from being able to attend sexual drag shows. Those are the laws he's opposing. And apparently, in his view, that is not controversial at Harley Davidson, that he supports kids being able to get sex changes and kids being able to go to drag shows. Ryan also seems to hold the view that a company going woke does not mean it will go broke. So I think This might be a good test case. Let's find out if Ryan's right. If you think that Harley-Davidson has fallen totally out of alignment with its core customers that have made that company great and successful, then here's their customer service number to call. And here's Harley-Davidson's media department contact information if you have any questions or a request for comment as to whether or not they're going to continue down this path of wokeness and DEI, or if they're going to turn around before they destroy this once great American company. And finally, you may want to call or write their owners group, okay? The Harley owners group, they would want to hear from you about anything that you're upset about as a Harley rider. And this last part is to the CEO of Harley-Davidson. I know you're watching this video, so let me tell you what your customers actually want, because it's pretty easy. Just get rid of the social issues and divisive causes. Make great motorcycles and provide great customer service. No more CEI scores, no more DEI departments, no more woke trainings, no more donations to woke causes, no more donations to pride parades that parade sexuality to children. Just make motorcycles, period. It was a great motorcycle company, and you were destroying it if you continue down this path. You have a chance to turn around now, and we're very forgiving out here. You want forgiveness, though? You need to turn around and stop all of this wokeness and get back to the core business that made Harley-Davidson great.
Yeah, sorry to burst everybody's bubble this early in the day. Yeah, so sorry. Nothing I can say, other than you got to be told, right? You gotta hear it out. It's the only way that we can stand against it is to stand up and say, fuck you. I've owned a couple in my life, and if that's the path they're taking, I'll never buy one again, ever. So. All right, TPV, Sean, WEF plotting catastrophic grid outage that will permanently reset America before the election. We've heard about blackout.
The World Economic Forum in Davos is planning what they describe as a catastrophic grid.
And I will be fast forwarding through his commercials.
Outage, with the stated goal of creating a permanent reset in the US before the November election. According to insiders, the CrowdStrike outage was the final preparation for a devastating cyber attack on the US power grid that will disconnect the public from the internet, wipe out savings, and plunge the nation into chaos for years, allowing the elite to roll out the next phase of their totalitarian master plan. As the global elite order world governments to prepare to rig the November election and ration people's food and water supplies as part of their Great Reset agenda, it's never been more important to spread the word about their evil plans. Before we dive in, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, join the People's Voice Locals community to join our incredible community and support the channel, and check out the brand new free speech forum at community.thepeoplesvoice.tv. The global elite have been warning us that we will own nothing and be happy in a world controlled by an authoritarian one-world government that enslaves humanity in a totalitarian system featuring a radically reduced population, mass surveillance, mandatory vaccinations, and desperate servitude. At the Harvard Kennedy School's Institute of Politics, the WF co-founder discussed his technique of overthrowing democracies by installing his cult of young global leaders in positions of power.
That we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more, half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
Evil never sleeps, and we are seeing Schwab's modus operandi play out before our very eyes. The WF has infiltrated governments across the globe, with every Western nation falling under their control. Davos has also infiltrated the corporate world, centralizing power and influence around their puppet businesses, including BlackRock, which owns a huge stake in CrowdStrike. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. CrowdStrike, a WF company with very close ties to the DNC and three-letter agencies, is also operating on a massive level, integrated into the grid, government, financial, transportation, and hospital systems. Now, the globalist elite have ordered a series of devastating cyber attacks, and they're using WF-affiliated companies, including CrowdStrike, to attack America from the inside. Pay close attention to CEO George Kurtz's body language as he attempts to evade questions.
Milwaukee, I mean, you're in the cybersecurity business, and I certainly don't even pretend to understand this, but according to your statement, it was a single content update that has managed to shut down air travel, credit card payment systems, banks, broadcasts, street lights, 911, emergency around the globe. Why is there not some kind of redundancy or some sort of backup? How is it that one single software bug can have such a profound and immediate impact?
Well, when you look at the complexity of cybersecurity, you're always trying to stay one step ahead of the adversaries. Excuse me. Man, just 1 second, please.
Oh yeah, take a drink of water.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sure it's been a long night.
We're always trying. It's been a long night.
We're going to cut him off there because he spent the next 5 minutes lying about why his company, in conjunction with Bill Gates' Microsoft, brought the world to a literal standstill on Friday, affecting people's ability to work, travel, access their money, and undergo important health procedures. Where do we know CrowdStrike from? They are the company that lied and said Russia hacked the DNC and released Hillary's emails. The FBI outsourced their investigation to CrowdStrike in 2016, and CrowdStrike lied and said exactly what the DNC wanted them to. In short, CrowdStrike are deep state goons, responsible for the Mueller special counsel and Russiagate hoax that the mainstream media perpetrated for years in their fascist attempt to destroy a duly elected president. Nobody should be surprised that the New World Order elite, in tandem with their favorite companies CrowdStrike and Microsoft, are waging war on the West and targeting the internet, food and water supplies. The elite always tell you what their plan is. The world just needs to pay attention and wake up.
Pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack.
You don't have to be a body language expert to notice Professor Schwab's deranged excitement about the major cyber attack. Preparations for the inside job are underway, and insiders warn that the elite's three-pronged attack on humanity is set to disconnect the public from the internet, wipe out savings, and severely disrupt our food and water supplies. Today's sponsor.
I'm just going to end him there. We pretty much heard what we needed to hear out of him, and we're not gonna watch his commercials. Not gonna happen. That's the real Joe Biden, by the way. All right. Why are lobbyists giving more money to Democrats in Montana than anywhere else?
Vice President Kamala Harris has officially taken over the Biden campaign.
Yeah, bro, can we get confirmation of whether or not her boss is alive? But look, now that we know one Democrat has lost their job, let's talk about another one that has to go. Jon Tester. And you probably don't know who that is. But weirdly enough, this Democrat senator from the state of Montana is the #1 recipient of lobbyist money. Think about that for a second. Of all the politicians you've heard of, all the politicians doing national debates and weighing in by writing articles in the AP, none of them are getting anywhere near the money Jon Tester is. Sounds to me like this Senate race in Montana is a lot more important than we think it is. So let's talk about the candidates. On one side, you have the aforementioned Jon Tester, a left-wing Democrat with an F rating from the NRA. Which, how do you get elected in Montana while having an F rating with the NRA? Not to mention, the only reason Tester got elected was that his Republican opponent was just covered in scandal at the time of the election. But then on the Republican side, you have Tim Sheehy, a former Navy SEAL with what just might be the most gangster resume I've ever seen. Like, check this out. This dude graduated top of his class at the United States Naval Academy, went on to become a Navy SEAL, is twice decorated with the Bronze Star and Purple Heart for injuries sustained in Afghanistan. On top of that, he's also an aerial firefighter. A job, which, thanks to my high school guidance counselor, I didn't even know was an option. Really appreciate that one, Mr. Pepitone. But even more, after this dude was medically discharged from the military for injuries sustained in Afghanistan, he then went on to become a successful entrepreneur and businessman. Look, we say all over this country that we need new blood in government. We need people who aren't politicians. We need people who understand what the American people are dealing with. Well, Montana, you've been offered that in spades. You can either vote for the left-wing Democrat who receives more money from lobbyists than any other politician in the country, or you can vote for a Bronze Star earning, Purple Heart wearing, former Navy SEAL who doesn't need a cent from the lobbyist. Seems like a pretty easy choice if you ask me.
And that's, basically the thing with Trump was Trump had his own money. He had his own money, so he gave away his paychecks. He had his own money. Think about when they signed the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Okay, what were they willing to sacrifice? Their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. Those were the three things, the three things that they had: their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. And most of them paid the ultimate price. Instead,
Vice President Kamala Harris has.
Instead today, it's how much can I make when I get there? How much can I make while getting on my way there? And then how much can I make while I'm there? They're not using their funds to help the American people in any way, shape, or form. Because we know they don't give a shit about the American citizens one shape or form. So, it's that clear, So let's see. Sassafras 84 says, watch his face. Premeditated, coordinated, inside job. The American people see through the BS. Now that the Secret Service director stepped down, the gloves are off. I bet everybody involved will start throwing each other under the bus as more evidence comes out. Here we go.
I'm just going to say it. Are you aware, sir, that many Americans believe this was very likely not a lone shooter, but a coordinated assassination attempt? Have you been getting those messages from people like I have?
I have not, sir.
You haven't? Well, there's a lot of people in this room that have been getting the same messages. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that a lot of Americans are like, this doesn't add up, this doesn't make sense, guys? How could this many things have gone wrong, right? Like the things I pointed out, a 20-year-old kid, got 150 yards of the president of the United States with an AR-15, flew a drone to conduct site surveillance, was spotted with a rangefinder ranging targets, then lost, had advanced explosive devices on him with no military training. Nobody was placed in the most obvious spot to conduct counter sniper operations. I was the sniper in the SEAL team's colonel. As soon as I got out of the SUV and I saw that sniper, that water tower, I was like, that's exactly where I'd be. Put me right there. So obvious. After partisan attempts to bankrupt him, imprison him for 750 years, and countless depictions as a modern day Hitler, are you surprised, sir, that a lot of Americans are like, maybe there's more to this story?
I wouldn't begin to speculate about what the American people think, sir.
Colonel, did your team make entry and conduct investigation at the suspect's home prior to this shooting?
Excuse me, sir? I've asked that question.
Did your team make entry and conduct any investigation at the suspect's home?
I believe we had people that participated in that securing of it. There were bomb assets that we provided.
Mr. Chairman, can I have 30 more seconds?
Yeah, I'm letting everybody come. Okay. On the night of. Since then, none.
Did you get any reports from any of your agents of anything fishy at the home?
I was briefed on.
Was there any silverware found in the home or trash?
I have nothing in the briefing that I was given, sir.
Was it extremely clean, almost like a medical lab? Were you given any of those reports?
I wasn't giving any of those details, sir.
Okay, that's what I'm hearing. Interesting.
Yeah, that's just the first one from this hearing. Yeah, the first one. Here's the next one.
Again. Chairman, thank you for hosting this hearing. Colonel Paris, you're the commissioner of the Pennsylvania State Police Department?
Yes, sir, I am.
And your testimony, sir, is that approximately 25 minutes, and won't hold you to the exacts, but approximately 25 minutes before the first shots were fired, that local law enforcement officers identified Crooks as suspicious?
As suspicious, yes, sir.
And what was it that led those officers to conclude that Crooks was suspicious?
My understanding was that he was milling about and he stood out to them because he never made his way to a point of ingress to the venue.
With respect to him being suspicious, were there other folks who were also in the crowd identified as suspicious by law enforcement?
I have been briefed that, yes, there were multiple individuals, which would be consistent with normal operations for a detail like this that are identified as suspicious.
Can we take that as a single-digit number of other folks?
The number that I was briefed on was single-digit, but I can't say definitively that I was.
What number were you briefed on, Colonel?
Excuse me?
What number were you briefed on?
I believe I was briefed on an additional 3 individuals.
Okay, so Crooks plus 3.
As suspicious, yes, sir.
Okay. So it tells you a lot. Tells you a whole lot that they're talking about. All right. Wall Street Babe says this was planned. Democrats waited this long to replace Biden on purpose. And
so let me get this straight. The side of the aisle that's trying to protect our democracy, and don't get me started on the constitutional republic, let's use their language. The side of the aisle that's trying to preserve our democracy is completely okay with the Democrats knowing very well that Joe Biden wouldn't make it another 4 years. They knew this. From the very beginning, they knew this. But they chose to ride their racehorse as close to the finish line as possible before, let's just say, he got sent off to the glue factory, so that they got to a point where you no longer get to choose who your Democratic option is. Yet you're preserving democracy. So at this point in time, the American people, Democrats, are not allowed to choose. So as a right-leaning individual, we got to see Nikki Haley, we got to see Vivek, we got to see DeSantis, we got to see a bunch of other people, and we got to choose. We got to decipher. We got to investigate the history of these people, do our due diligence, see what their policies are, and actually dive deep. But the Democrats, the preserving democracy side, is going to be put up with someone. It could be Kamala, could be Newsom, could be Michelle. We don't know who it's going to be. And you are still going to vote for him no matter who, because you are so absent-minded on policy, merit, morals, track record, ethics, that you could care less who it is. You see all these people vote blue no matter who. I'd vote for a blue dot over Donald Trump. And you want to say that MAGA is the cult? You want to say MAGA is the cult when we know what we're voting for? We've kicked people to the curb who are on the Republican Party that we don't align with. We have no problem calling people out who don't abide by what we stand with. But you guys don't even care. You don't care what they stand by. You don't care what their track record is. You don't care if they're involved with the 1994 crime bill, incarcerating Black Americans in San Francisco, homelessness issues in California. You could care less what they actually stand for, because you will vote Democrat no matter who, while simultaneously protecting our democracy. Make that make sense. By the way, MAGA hoodie, merch link in bio.
Yeah. All right. Breaking brand new unseen body cam footage from the rooftop from the Trump shooting on July 13 has been released. Just moments ago, Senator Grassley released brand new unseen body cam footage obtained through a congressional request. Let's see. The footage shows Secret Service agents armed and on high alert after the shooter was neutralized during Trump's rally on July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania. In the video, an officer is heard saying a Secret Service sniper took multiple photos of Crooks before Crooks opened fire on Trump. The release of this footage provides a detailed look at the immediate aftermath of the incident. Okay, this is, while they're rushing all the people out of there and everything else. So, and from my understanding, it's extremely orderly. So
we don't know. So this is the guy that
yes, that they sent yes, Beaver County Sniper Scene and sent the pictures out. This is him.
Okay. All right.
Rifle's right there, obviously.
Got it. So The bike in the back. Is he on that bike?
We don't know.
We don't know. So
I
we're
don't
just
know.
treating that as suspicious device.
Oh, 1 second. I believe the sniper that seen these and sent the pictures is right inside his building. Michelle, is Greg in there? All right, so if you go to that window that's open and yell for Greg, that's the sniper that sent the original pictures and seen him come from the bike and set the book back down and then lost sight of him.
Okay.
He's the one that sent the pictures out. I don't know if you got the same ones I did.
I think I did, yeah. He's
So-
got his glasses on and
So the Secret Service guys are in that building there. Okay, I'm going to back this up a little bit. I want to point this out. Okay, because he points at the building. And not one of those guys in these windows or this window right here, which is wide open, by the way, because this is immediately after the shooting, couldn't take a shot to take him out. Is that what you're trying to tell me? Your flanks, you leave your flanks wide open? So you're basically saying that crooks could have gone up this roof over here instead and just gone to that window there and shot the guys inside. Because we don't protect our flanks. You see where I'm going with this? Okay, let's go ahead.
So we had the picture of
I
that.
got that.
Okay, and then this is his bike with the stuff. And our sniper seen him walking away from that, I believe.
Okay.
But he would be right inside that window. He's the one that physically seen this, sent the pictures, and called it out.
Okay, so, and we have somebody detained, correct? They're all detained on this side. Our guy that was just up here told me that there's a guy detained. He's the owner of the bike. And I said, no, I think that's the owner of the bike. Yeah, basically, when I got
We've been up here, so we wouldn't know that information. We just don't ask. We got everything.
No, yeah. Is that all your stuff? Yeah. Yeah, so someone came up looking to treat him.
Copy. Gas is off to the building, just so you know.
Yeah, they do. I talked to the guy. There's people detained with filming. Maybe they were involved. Maybe they weren't. Well, I think the guys that saw them filming were like, oh, they were filming us, and then filming the guy up on the roof, and then filming us, and then when the shots started firing, they tried to run away. Isn't that what everybody would do that has a phone? I'm not saying they weren't filming, but you know what I mean? Like that.
It's up in the air right now, right?
Right. So I got no problem detaining them. Yeah, I'm just trying to detain those guys, find out what they know, who they are, whatever. I'm trying to get clear information to relay that to the scene. We have one shooter deceased. I think we have 3 victims in the crowd. You guys hear that too?
That I'm not sure.
So I heard 1 deceased, 2 life-flighted.
I know 2 helicopters take off.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know how many.
Hello.
Three are deceased.
Yeah, I don't know how they can stand so comfortably on that sloped. Yeah, what Susan said. Steeply slanted roof. Yeah. That looks so dangerous. I mean, yeah. Oh, it's so awful. How could you guys handle that? I mean, no ropes and no harnesses and no protective gear. You do have helmets on, but I think that that's because you're retarded and your parents made sure that you had protective head covering when you left home this morning. Yeah, to go and play your job. Play, because that's what you're doing. All right. Representative Nancy Mace says, strolling to the speaker's office now that well, I'll just let her say it. Why should I repeat her?
Okay, we are on our way to the speaker's office. Last night, I filed a privilege motion to force a vote on the floor of the House on impeaching Kim Cheadle. And we are withdrawing that motion since she resigned. And we're going to give this letter to the Speaker of the House to withdraw our impeachment motion. And we're doing that right now.
Yeah. Well, why would they want to kill a fire chief? You know, a retired fire chief at that. You know, if Trump was a mistake, then why would they want to kill a? Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Can someone caught 2 suns at the Antarctic? Yep. This is how they'll fake that 24-hour sun. Here we go. I love how these readers context bunch of trolls. I've about had it with them. Aaron Vaughn and Al Parrott will be important to remember soon. And the cool thing is this time I actually got the video without music in it, so I get to play it without worry.
You want the whole truth. You deserve the whole truth. So here's the thing. Find out who I am. And for those of you who know, you're not saying anything, well, those golden tickets you have are really lined with lead. Because until the whole truth comes out, it's all just lies on both sides. So anyway, TikTok, have some fun with this. Find out who that man is with the silly curl on his forehead. I had forgotten I even had that curl for decades. Strangest thing having your memories wiped out. Well, anyway. Take care, TikTok. Godspeed.
Yeah, Aaron Vaughn. Aaron Vaughn, that's who that is. All right, here we go.
The International Criminal Court. Let's talk about it. And to be honest, I don't know how long this is going to stay up, so you might want to save it. But I'm going to break this whole thing down so people can better understand it. For entertainment purposes, of course, because I know absolutely nothing, and I'm just making this stuff up. All right, the International Criminal Court was established in 2002. And like I said in my other video, they handle a certain criteria of crimes. And as of last year, 123 different states have signed a treaty recognizing the court, with only a handful that don't. The United States being one of them. But don't let that fool you, because since the creation, the United States has played ball with the ICC in and out over the years. All right, now here's where it gets interesting. In 2020, Big T signed an executive order putting sanctions on the ICC, preventing them from being able to investigate the U.S. for war crimes in Afghanistan. This is it right here, all these tiny fancy words. All right, now you remember when Joey first signed on and he was signing all those executive orders trying to reverse what the Big T did? Well, one of those was the sanctions on the ICC. Essentially giving the ICC the ability to investigate the United States. Well, in theory, if the warrant was issued for old Benji here, and considering the magnitude of it, they quietly put one out for Joey, and Joey's found to be an illegitimate boss man, well, then Big T here could honor the lifted sanctions on the ICC. Then he could grab Joey and Benji, who's currently on U.S. soil, and send them both to international tribunals. In theory, of course. But if Joey stays gone or checks out, and then a little while later, the same thing happens to Benji, well, that's enough for me personally. All right, now before I go, I want to make something very clear. If you think I align with some political party, then you're sadly mistaken. I care about people, and I'm seeking the truth, which makes yours and my own feelings irrelevant. I'm just here to inform. That's it. Stay safe.
I like his videos. He put some good content together. Yep. So sus. Here we go.
So there's no way that the CrowdStrike outage on Friday was a mistake as it's being advertised. To put into perspective, the standard process for testing new software generally follows two really simple stages. The first is you test within a controlled environment. This is like your laboratory environment. This is where you have device types and operating systems that resemble a real world. And then once you pass all those tests, then you start to roll out amongst a small cluster of companies, generally starting with smaller companies that have smaller impact and then rolling out to larger companies after that. And it's clear that neither step one nor step two was followed. And you might say, well, there was an urgent release that needed to go out, but it's not quite that straightforward. You see, CrowdStrike is regulated under a standard called ISO 27001. And this effectively means a third-party auditor has come in, evaluated their testing process, and confirmed that they physically cannot release software into what's called a production environment, so the real world, without first running a predefined testing process. And what's quite unique about this is that CrowdStrike's bug, or what has happened here, has impacted 100% of Windows-based devices, which means it would have failed every test in the control room. It would have failed every test if they rolled it out to a small cluster of companies. And so this is what's just a little bit strange. I mean, to characterize how big an issue this really is, this is the software equivalent of a building falling over because the engineers simply weren't engaged, or a COVID vaccine killing millions of the elderly because we decided to just run 0 lab tests. There's just no way that this was an honest mistake. And so the question is kind of why? Why is it that a company like CrowdStrike would roll out an update knowing that it has not passed any of their testing criteria, that they risk losing their certification for failing to achieve, knowing full well that there's a good chance it's going to bring down tens of millions of devices? It just makes no sense that this was an honest mistake. And the problem is, this is having a material impact on a global scale, shutting down the media, airlines, and banks. So I'll keep you posted on kind of what I read from my end, but at this point, it seems very sus.
Yep. Like I said, it's like every 8 to 12 hours, something new's coming out. Here we go.
Joe Biden has been spotted at the airport, headed back to the White House. There's no sound in the first part of this video, so it's awkward. Hey, I'm Joe. Look at his mask. It's doing him a lot of good in his hand. You betcha.
Dropped out of the race, sir. Can Harris beat Trump? Can Harris beat Trump, Mr. President?
Now, he's going to address the nation tomorrow night. I want to say that's at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll stream it. We'll see how it goes on X and YouTube. Probably not here. And Kamala Harris, she's just being endorsed by everybody.
That the process is played out from the grassroots bottom up. We are here today to throw our support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to.
It's not awkward at all. And the leader of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, is here in the United States. He was called here by Congress a few months back to have a meeting about everything that's going on. Joe Biden had canceled his meeting with Netanyahu. Kamala Harris isn't going to go. She's going to some sorority fundraising thing in Indiana. The second in chair to meet with him, I don't remember her name, but she's not going to go either because she's protesting the event. So he's going to be met with by the third in chair. Oh, and Donald Trump. Really sure why he requested a meeting with Donald Trump, but earlier this week, Netanyahu said he wanted to have a meeting with Donald Trump. Should have had a good-ish working relationship, I think, in the past, but there's been points of contention. I know that Trump has spoken out a lot about what's been going on over there and how Israel has handled it. Not Israel or like the military, but specifically Netanyahu. So we'll see what he's got to say, yeah?
Yep. So that's later on this afternoon that them two will be meeting. I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen there too. All right, it's time for a laugh, guys. It's time for a laugh. This guy always gets us good. Here we go.
You saw what? Your son saw me at the airport last night. Does he want to see me at your house later? Then shut the fuck up. Okay?
Just kidding. He said what? He said I was very nice? Oh. Anyways. He didn't want to bother me? He did. Yeah, it was in the urinal next to me, dude. He's like, hey, big fan. Not that big of a fan. Tall, skinny what? Black kid? That's your son? You see what I see, right? Adopted? But hold on. Is your husband black? He was. What, did you wash him? I'm kidding. Oh, that one's not going online for sure. There's no way. That was pretty fucked. He passed? No. Then he's still black, right? Divorce. He was your husband. You got to work on how you say this story. Hold on. Did you just say your husband died last night?
No, last May.
Last May. Oh, you just said it Southern. Last night. Ooh. And second husband, white? Yeah. Oh, you do go back. Okay. We're making a comeback.
Okay. All right. No, he's not politically correct. He says what's on his mind. And it just, yeah. I think he does some great interactions with the crowd. I love the one that where he got the biker guy in the front there. That was actually in that video as well. Sitting next to the black couple, and he was talking the biker dude had replacements in his legs, tendons, and one leg was done by a black man, another leg was done with a white guy, and and it was classic and hysterical, so all right, Illuminati bot.
The states are taking children, giving them to somebody else for money that they get from the federal government. That means that all 50 states are involved in government subsidized child trafficking. It's a ring. It is the largest and most pervasive child trafficking ring in the history of the world by sheer money and numbers.
Children are seized unnecessarily from their families due to the federal aid entitled the Adoption and Safe Families Act.
It was put into law in 1997 by Bill and Hillary Clinton, and I said it that way on purpose. And it is a law that literally steals money from the Social Security Fund and gives this money to the states in order to incentivize them to kidnap babies.
To receive the adoption incentives or bonuses, local CPS must have more children. They must have more merchandise to sell.
Every child, once you've added it all up, is worth approximately $1 million to the state. But we've been told that this is a $60 to $80 billion a year industry, meaning the federal government is taking $80 billion a year and giving that money to all of the 50 states to kidnap children.
Parents are victimized by the system that makes a profit for holding children longer and bonuses for not returning children to their parents.
But their own statistics state that 83% of all children who are taken by CPS, Child Protective Services, are for unsubstantiated allegations, meaning never should it have happened in the first place. So that imagine anything else in the world where you know you get it wrong 83% of the time and you admit it, but you just keep doing it.
Case workers and social workers are often guilty of fraud. They withhold and destroy evidence.
Yep. Child trafficking. $80 billion industry here in the United States alone, never mind the other countries. 13 facts you should never forget about Kamala Harris.
You do remember that she was one of only 14 people that endorsed the Green New Deal. 14 people put their names on it. She was one of them. Bernie Sanders was another one. Elizabeth Warren. So the radical of the radical Democratic senators actually went for this. And she also co-sponsored single-payer health care, a complete transition away from fossil fuels in 10 years, which would have meant by the end of coal, oil, and natural gas, not to mention the collapse of our economy, by 2030. Universal government jobs guarantee. She also was for a government program promising universal access to healthy foods. She wanted to upgrade every U.S. home and business building in the country for energy efficiency. She had UBI, Universal Basic Income, new national living wage standards, more power for labor unions, free college, a whole new electric grid, the end of gasoline cars by 2030, and the transformation of U.S. agriculture, including the end of much of the cattle industry. That's what she was for. She's a democratic socialist and incompetent. Tell me the thing that she has really done and earned her way.
Yep. She's got knee pads. She's got knee pads, Glenn. She's got knee pads. So she's working. She's working. Okay, here we go.
If you're a man and you vote for a woman to be president, you're a faggot. If you're a
okay. 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 Okay, here we go.
Help has arrived, America.
There is no more need for fear. We are from the government and we are here to help you. All will be fine now. If you get in line.
Help has arrived, America.
There is no more need for fear. We are from the government and we are here to help you. All will be fine now. If you get in line.
Yeah, that's what they want. They want everybody toeing the line. Here we go. Disenfranchised. That disenfranchisement has begun. Here we go.
You tried to take away my right to vote. You tried to decide who it was that I was and was not allowed to vote for. And from this point forward, I am in Trump's camp. MAGA all the way.
Yep. They fuckered up. Yep. All right. We so fucking back. All right. When Trump exposed Netanyahu. All right, here we go.
Look, it's going to have to do with both sides, but a lot will have to do with Israel and whether or not Israel wants to make the deal. As far as settlements, I'd like to see you hold back on settlements for a little bit. We'll work something out, but I would like to see a deal be made. It might be a bigger and better deal than people in this room even understand. That's a possibility. So let's see what we do. Doesn't sound too optimistic, but that's... I was disappointed in Bibi, just on a personal basis. I thought he wanted to make a deal more than Netanyahu. And I will be honest, I had a great meeting with him, Abbas, right? I had a great meeting with him. And we spent a lot of time together, talked about many things. And it was almost like a father. I mean, He was so nice. Couldn't have been nicer. And after meeting with Bibi for 3 minutes, I looked at him and said, "You don't want to make a deal, do you?" And he said, "Well, and the fact is, I don't think Bibi ever wanted to make a deal. Why? I thought the Palestinians were impossible, that the Israelis would do anything to make peace and a deal. I found that not
to be true. Yep. Meet Sean Belargian. I have no idea how to say his name. Teacher at Worcester Public in Massachusetts, who has been arrested on charges of aggravated rape of a child under the age of 14 years old. Meet Sean, everybody. Let's hear it for Sean and his success in finding a way to put himself in prison. So here's the juice behind that. Rutland man arrested on child rape charges involving multiple victims, police say. Yep. Rutland police didn't share details on the nature of the allegations beyond what they reported on May 30th and involved more than one complaint and multiple victims. A man has been arrested on child rape charges involving allegations that took place in Rutland, Massachusetts over several years, police said Tuesday. Sean Belargian, 54-year-old Rutland resident, was arrested Tuesday morning by state and local police. The town's police department announced he faces charges including aggravated rape of a child and indecent assault and battery on a child under 14. Police didn't share details on the nature of the allegations beyond what they reported on May 30th and involved more than one complaint and multiple victims, though it wasn't clear how many. The Rutland Police Department would like to commend the bravery of the victims in this case who came forward. We encourage all victims of sex abuse to come forward, and we promise to do everything in our power to offer support. Yeah, well, you're a little late there, pals. You're a little bit late. You should have been on that a long time ago. All right. Exactly brilliant difference between white liberal and white conservative. Spot on, John. Here we go.
This is the difference between a white liberal and a white conservative in the eyes of a black man, okay? Now, I lived in California, I've lived in Texas, I've lived in really red, I've lived in really blue, okay? Here's what the liberals will do when they see a young, articulate, successful black man. They'll be like, oh my gosh, it must have been so hard for you to overcome the disparities, the discrimination, the racism. It is just so amazing that you have become the exception to the rule. You have just created something for yourself that is just so difficult for minorities to do. And we're just so proud of you. So amazing. And I'm sitting there being like, so like what? You just think all black people are just dumb thugs that don't know how to do nothing? I'm the exception to the rule purely because I found success like you have. Like I'm as successful as you, so therefore I must just be a special one. The exception to the rule. It's crazy. I'm not joking. This happens. It's crazy. They're like, oh my gosh, like the struggles, the hurdles, the obstacles. It's just amazing that you found the way to be moderately successful. And it's the most racist, like in-person experience that I usually get. And it's just like the assumption that I'm just like part of a group of people that are incapable, period. Here's how white conservatives do it. They'll see a young black man, articulate, successful. And they'll be like, word, dude, congrats, man. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That's cool, bro. Keep it going. And then they leave. They leave. Because they don't care. Conservative, they don't care. It's like, oh, you worked hard? You want a cookie? You want a cookie for working hard? And they don't care. They're like, dude, are you kidding me? I'll congratulate you for just being a hard worker, but like, I'm not going to sit here and, singing in the arms of an angel. There's a black man trying to make money. It's like ridiculous. So I love conservatives for that. Like, hey, word, dude. Good job, man. Keep it going. And they walk off. liberals gotta freaking sing me a song, tap dance a little bit, get on their knees and kiss my big toe, apologize for their whiteness, and tell me that I'm the exception to the rule because all black people are stupid. And it's just like, damn, liberals, y'all really are so ignorant you can't see your ignorance. It's painful. I genuinely, I'd rather be ignored than praised for my disabilities. Fake disabilities, by the way. Anyway, that's all I was trying to say.
I like that. I like that. It's becoming clearer and clearer every day. All right. Interesting video here. Get my Section 8 voucher and got me and my kids out of the hood. Here we go.
If y'all were not mad before, you're definitely going to be mad now at Section 8 tenants. My Section 8 tenants that were getting free rents for life, the government is now allowing them to buy the rental property that they were living in. And check this out. They don't have to pay a down payment. They don't pay PMI. Their interest rates are between 4 and 5%, and they don't have to have good credit. But wait, it gets even better. For me as a Section 8 investor selling the property and for them as a tenant, the housing authority will allow them to go up to 15% above the asking price. So on a $100,000 property, they can offer up to $115,000 on that unit. So if they're competing against you, the regular middle class, and they have no income, they don't have to. And they can now offer more than you're able to. So they have a much higher buying power. Want access to my site.
Yeah. And the thing is most of that funding is going to illegal immigrants. Oh, no, I shouldn't have said that. Mayorkas might send somebody after me. Fucking twat waffle. That's what he is. All right. Yeah, let's just go ahead and listen. Here we go.
So Democrats, over the past several years, have done everything in their power to convince you that the greatest threat to America is white supremacy. And they've gone out of their way to malign and impugn the character of straight white men. Of course, that is in direct contradiction to the fact that Kamala Harris, AOC, Ketanji Brown Jackson, and Ilhan Omar are all married to ostensibly straight white men. Additionally, Kamala Harris is well known for locking up a plethora of black men on marijuana charges and then keeping many of those men behind bars past their release dates to be utilized as a form of cheap labor. But I'm to believe that if I choose to vote against Kamala Harris, which I do, and if I choose to vote for Donald Trump, which I do, the same Donald Trump who not only signed a bill restoring funding of $250 million every year to historically black colleges and universities, and the same Donald Trump who, through his first term as president, saw the lowest black unemployment numbers in U.S. history, if I choose to do that, somehow that apparently makes me a sellout or an Uncle Tom. Make that make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I like that. Give it time. It'll be inmate twat waffle. Okay. So George says a massive scandal has emerged from the donations Act Blue received on the day Joe Biden dropped out. Reports indicate that $20 million from Swiss billionaire Hans-Jörg Weiss was broken down into over 1.6 million donations across 400,000 donors. Weiss is looked at as George Soros' successor when it comes to pouring money into American politics. These donations are called smurfing, which happens when names of innocent small donors, usually elderly, are used to funnel money into political campaigns, typically Democratic. James O'Keefe and O'Keefe Media Group have previously discovered millions in questionable donations on Act Blue. Think of a ballot trafficking, but with campaign donations. Yep. It's a happening. Yep. All right. Remember when Kamala Harris said Jussie Smollett's case was a modern day lynching? Flashback to when a reporter asked her about the post after it was known that Smollett lied.
Which tweet? What tweet?
About saying that it is a modern day lynching, that
sorry.
Yes, Jussie Smollett.
Okay, so I will say this about that case. I think that the facts are still unfolding, and I'm very concerned about, obviously, which tweet.
Yeah. I wonder if they actually put the tweet in here. Did anybody add the tweet? Yeah. See, I hate it when they don't add the tweet in there too. Oh, here we go. Okay, this tweet. Juicy Smollett is one of the kindest, most gentle human beings I know. I'm praying for his quick recovery. This is an attempted modern-day lynching. No one should have to fear for their life because of their sexuality or color of their skin. We must confront this hate. And I'll have you guys know that when that happened and we found out that he lied, I actually contacted Fox, who was in charge of the production of the TV series that he was currently at. And I told them that personally, I will never, ever tune in again with all these actors all coming forward and in support of his deception and everything. The only one who didn't get involved in that was Terrence. What's Terrence's last name? He played the dad on the show. Is it Terrence Howard? The guy's a genius. I mean, the dude is a natural genius and everything. So I wouldn't expect him to be, all that. So, all right. I shared a article with you guys about this woman, Australian woman who entered a kebab house seeking help after being gang raped by 5 men of African appearance in Paris. She was there visiting in Paris. Well, the CCTV has been released.
Won't identify her, but the 25-year-old fled here, visibly distressed on CCTV and in tears. A woman helps her with water. Staff try to comfort her. Then a man walks in. She gestures, that's him. But the owners don't speak English and find someone who can. The alleged attacker lingers and even approaches. A pat on the back before English speakers walk in to help. He makes an order, but then another diner takes a swing. The confrontation erupts. The man flees. Just minutes later, police arrive. The owner and staff today still shaken.
C'est triste. La dame est trop triste.
It's sad, he says. She couldn't stop crying. Her dress was damaged. The woman told police she was raped by 5 men of African appearance.
What happened to your citizen happened a lot of time in France every day.
The victim was due to fly home the next day after attending a music festival, but ended up in hospital.
It's a bit crazy, but because there is not the security there used to be.
This is a headline Games organisers didn't want just days out from the opening ceremony. The world's eyes will soon be on Paris, and there are heightened security concerns for visitors and athletes. Tonight, worries for Australia's athletes. At these games, they'll leave the village after their events, rather than staying in the safety net of the Australian Olympic Committee. With police resources stretched, their investigation continues. Her attackers still free. In Paris, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
And it would not surprise me one bit. I'm going to say this, and I hate to say it, but I remember Munich. Those of you that remember Munich, I have a feeling that there is going to be a Munich type situation with the Olympics there in Paris. Not necessarily involving U.S. people, but just as a narrative in order to attempt to command more control. So we'll have to see what happens. Now, this one here, it's a little bit hard to follow. I'm going to pause and read it to you guys because I think that this is freaking hilarious. Okay. Global Press, and this is the Global Press Corps, 1 hour at stating when that's the time it was posted. Breaking. A verified source has informed the Global Press team that Joe Biden is currently in hospice care and is unlikely to survive the night. Raw News Alert says this news report is 100% false. Oh, let me hang on. And there is no official confirmed source stating that President Joe Biden is in hospice care and unlikely to survive the night. If this were actually happening, mainstream media and social media would be covering it immediately, as it would be major breaking news headline around the world. The lack of any sources or confirmed reports, along with the fact that this is a made-up story, doesn't help either. And then Global Press said, yes, like we said, there is no official source, but the source told us Joe Biden was dropping out of the race this Sundays, 2 days prior to the announcement, also informed us of this just now and corroborated it with another source, and they put in the address of XCOM Global Press Corps. Sources close to Biden campaign say he will announce withdrawal from presidential candidates on Sunday. In fact, if Biden makes another public appearance and we're wrong, we'll delete our account, but only if @Raw's Alerts agrees to delete theirs if they're wrong. And then they press the matter a little bit more @Raw's Alerts. Will you take us up on this wager? Well, this was Raw's Alerts response was, sure, why not? Laugh my ass. Whoop, damn it. I hate it when it does that. You did say you had a verified source, which you don't. But the funny thing is you won't delete your account, even if the report you claim to have a verified source for is false, as we said. Global Press says Elon Musk ban us if wrong, ban Raw Alerts if they're wrong.
A few moments later.
Breaking. Joe Biden appearance in public for the first time in 6 days since his week-long COVID diagnosis, during which he remained silent and was not heard from later as he boarded the Air Force One in Delaware. En route to the White House, he announced the suspension of his re-election campaign.
Mr. President, how are you?
Well, I will say this, at least Global Press Corps was stand up because they took their shit down. Yeah. And that's how it works. That's how it works. I'm not going to go into this Act Blue thing because we already know that they're laundering money and have been for years and years and years. So I'm tired of all of that. Nick Sortor, update. The J-23 insurrectionists here at the U.S. Capitol are now being loaded in police vans and hauled off to jail. They'll be getting 5 to 20 years like the J6ers, right? Well, this is what they did. So, yeah, and then this was happening, of course. want to know if they're going to get treated the same way the Jan 6ers got treated. What if they're going to get 5 to 20 years for interrupting, making noise, going inside the building that we paid for? Yeah. Yep. All right, here's some more conservative ant for you. Whoop. Damn it.
Happy Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday. Hump day. Hump. My bingo card's been so fucking full. Anyways, I just think it's amazing to me that we just went through years. It feels like eternity, but a few years now, not knowing what a woman is. Okay. Not knowing what their genders are. Okay. And now all of a sudden we have to have this woman as president. Y'all want this. This is what there's a coconut tree. I feel like I fell on a coconut tree. Today is today, tomorrow is tomorrow, yesterday is yesterday. This is the person we're going to send to Saudi Arabia to talk to the Crown Prince about possible future. This is the person that y'all want to send to Russia. This is the person y'all want to send to talk to all these big dogs. You want to send this. And now you know what a woman is today. Because today is today, and yesterday was yesterday, tomorrow's tomorrow. Okay. I can't understand the logic of liberals. I'm telling you, I cannot.
And you are not alone. You are not alone, brother. You are absolutely not alone. I thought that this was pretty interesting. Breaking pro-Palestine protesters has caused chaos at the Watergate Hotel, releasing maggots onto Netanyahu's table and setting off fire alarms. And man, did they do some, yeah. Yeah, that's what they did. The infestation is real. Yeah. Yeah, that's not going to go so well for him. All right. I mean, therefore, I am, like him or not, but Andrew Tate is absolutely right about Mr. Beast and Chris Tyson. Here we go.
So Mr. Beast's tranny friend, he's been caught talking to kids, trying to fuck children. Surprise, surprise. Didn't see that one coming. Fucking hell. You know what's most amazing to me about this whole scenario? That nobody seems to point out this guy's name. Mr. Beast. They think that's a bit of a strange name. I'm sure I could Google it and there'd be some bullshit reason why he's called Mr. Beast. I'm sure they come up with some stupid story that when he was a kid, he had a figurine called Beast, and then when he grew up, he wanted to be a figurine. Some fucking garbage. Why would the largest YouTube channel with an affinity towards children in the world be named after the beast from the devil? Why would that happen? Is that a coincidence? Considering the fact that you don't get to become the largest YouTube channel in the world without permission from the Matrix, because they throttle the accounts they don't like, and they take subscribers off, and they prevent the accounts that tell the truth from getting views. If you're getting that many views and that many subscribers, it's because they're pushing you to the front with the algorithm. They want the kids to see you. And by coincidence, this account they want the kids to see is named after the beast. And these are the same people who openly admit they're coming for your children. They chant it in the streets at LGBT parades. We're coming for your kids, because the LGBT agenda has no future without your children. They can't have kids. They can't reproduce. They need your kids. They need to come and take yours. And they're open about it. And they put their flags everywhere. They have their month. And they put all their bullshit propaganda in schools to try and convince kids to do all this insanity and confuse children. And at the same time, the largest YouTube channel aimed at children in the world, now, coincidentally, one of them becomes a tranny who tries to fuck kids, and that's being normalized, and it's all called the beast, and it's an accident? Call me a conspiracy theorist. Seems pretty fucking obvious to me what they're doing. And I've explained in my previous videos that you don't get to the top unless you sell your soul. And you can sell your soul by being evil or just being ignorant. You can be like this Mr. Beast kid, and you can just sit there and go, oh, I didn't know. My friend just became a tranny, and I just say what they tell me to say, and I don't know, or just play ignorant. But he knows what he's doing. He knows it's wrong. If he had any semblance of honor, he would rename his channel. Why not? Right? You're big enough to get through a rebrand, friend. And you could sit there and say, you know what? I understand how my name can be misunderstood. And I have a responsibility that goes along with my popularity, and I should probably change it into something more positive. A positive name about helping the world instead of being a beast of some sort. Especially one, the beast from the Bible itself, in a Christian country, America. If he had any semblance of honor, he wouldn't be accepting all this transgender shit from his friend. He'd tell his friend to step down and be a tranny in private, because millions of kids watch this. And regardless of my personal views, even if I personally support your transgenderism, there's going to be some young children who watch this show who's going to get confused by what you're doing, and we might cause some distress. In fact, lifelong, life-altering decisions might be made based on the fact that you are being a dumbass, so let's keep this away from children. He didn't do that either. Is he allowed to do that? Maybe Susan told him he's not allowed. Maybe they told him, if you want to stay the largest channel, unless you want to become insignificant, you better do as you're told. Beast. So now everyone's pretending to be surprised that this fucking tranny tried to fuck a kid. Well, of course. It's all trannies fucking do. They're fucking sexual deviants. They're weirdos. There's no reason to chop your own fucking dick off unless you're a weirdo. Newsflash, you're weird. I'm actually going to blame the parents here, because if my children tried to say, I'm watching a beast channel about a beast. I mean, what the fuck? No, you're not. Stop. Read the Quran. Sit the fuck down. But I guess the parents are like, well, my kid likes that show. Well, then you're a fucking dumbass, and so is your stupid fucking kid. And this is how they get to get away with what they're doing. The parents are losers, and the people are evil, and the children are gullible. I'm not surprised by any of this news at all. I guess the point of this video, as I'm trying to say, is that I believe this roadmap for this beast channel, including the transgenderism, including normalizing chopping your dick off, I believe this whole roadmap was made long ago before it became the most popular channel in the world. They planned this out. They then pushed it to be the most popular channel in the world so they could get away with it. What comes next? We're going to find out.
Yep. I think we're going to find out. All right, guys, I got to stop. I'm like lightheaded and overheating. So it's time to get a fan and the air conditioner going. So I'm going to chill out. Thank you all for joining me. Sorry that BB took up 30 minutes of our time today. But I wanted to show it because of the fact that I felt that we need to keep an eye on what's going on in between Israel and our Congress and our Senate. Absolutely. We need to be spot on with seeing everything. So we know. All right. Remember, our Creator loves you. His Son, the Christ, loves you. And I love you. And we'll see you guys again. I might come back later tonight after it cools down, or I'll see you tomorrow. One or the other. Peace.